Hey, in the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. We're happy you're spending some time with us. And off the rails Thursday. Chip Brown, Zay Collier holding it down here on the Midday, Texas Sports Unfiltered. Zay, how you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. Happy Thursday, everybody. How you doing?
Doing good. Happy Thursday, everybody. Lance Taylor will be joining us almost right off the top of the show. But Zay, people are saying Nico Harrison was right. Huh?
I mean, Nico doesn't look as dumb as he looked a couple of months ago. Seems like, 3-1 or 4-1, 5-game series. Timberwolves take the Lakers. I'm shocked. This might be the one round that I got wrong because I said Lakers in 7. I was thinking that Luka's dominance and Austin Reeves being that guy and LeBron going into LeBron mode would be able to overtake the Timberwolves. And I and a lot of other people were wrong. Shout out to the Timberwolves. Shout out to their head coach, Chris Finch. Shout out to their superstar player, Anthony Edwards. Crazy as a road lizard, as my dad would say, but the dude could ball.
He didn't play. What cracks me up is like he took the victory lap last night around Crypto Arena or whatever they call it.
Crazy.
Staples.
That's nuts.
And it was Rudy Gobert. He was the hero.
Yeah.
I mean, Ant's the man, but last night, Rudy Gobert, 27 points, 24 boards. Gobert was like Ant was 0 for 10 from 3.
Yeah.
And they still won in LA.
I don't really understand the whole Jackson Hayes thing.
Yeah, I need your help with that because
I told you the other day, I don't really get it. And they kept showing him on the bench on some real petty type of stuff. Turner, every time Rudy Gobert, who, like you said, went off yesterday, best game of the year, we don't play our only center. He's the only center on the roster right now. And remember, Chip, go back to when they made the Luka trade. They tried to bring in former Duke Blue Devil, now Charlotte Hornet, Mark Williams, but he failed the physical. So that trade ended up getting X'd out. He was a 7-foot big who has good upside, but not the best, history when it comes to injuries. So they had, quote unquote, no center, but Jackson Hayes isn't getting a chance, JJ Redick. We get it. You dropped 41 against Texas. You don't like Texas. Maybe that's it. Maybe old JJ Redick, who got out coached. Playoffs and regular seasons, completely different. Completely. And JJ knows that. He was in the NBA long enough. He understands that it's a different game. But coaching from game to game and making adjustments from game 1 to game 2 to game 3, etc. That's a different type of skill that JJ Redick, this is his first time doing. Chris Finch, he's been around the block. He understands it. As big of a basketball IQ that JJ Redick has, he missed it on this one. And it's really odd. Like Jackson Hayes, you got to play him a little bit, especially with him being the lob threat for LeBron and Luka. Like in pick and roll, Jackson Hayes, he's a big part of your offense. So you get rid of that, and now LeBron.
Hold on, time out. Before we get Lance on, why don't you sign off and sign back on?
Oh, we got echoes again, man.
We got choppiness. All right. We'll come right back with Zay's thoughts on the Lakers not playing Texas Longhorn Jackson Hayes. What's up with that? Like, he's your only center. He doesn't play as Rudy Gobert's going off. The Lake Show is, and they're kind of a mess. And look, I just found it, there's a lot of irony going on because JJ Redick held his post-game press conference or postseason press conference today and talked about we need to get into championship shape. And it felt like he was talking to one guy, Luka. And it cracked me up that the Lakers are saying the guys that we need to build around the pillars of the Laker organization are LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves, the former Oklahoma.
Get rid of him.
All right, let's bring in our man Lance Taylor of Lance'sLock.com, our SEC insider and prognosticator and resident LA homer. Lance Taylor.
Yeah.
LT, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah, rough night, rough series for the Lakers. JJ Redick getting a lot of blame. And I'll say this, you can finish third in the really crowded West, but when you go out and you make a deal to bring in the top 3, 4, 5 players in all of basketball and Luka, and you go out in the first round, you lose in 5 games, and in those 4 losses by an 11 points per game to Minnesota, a team that you were a minus 250 favorite to win that series. Very, very disappointing. Look, it's all about championships for Lakers. Whatever they do in the regular season really doesn't matter. They've won 17 championships. So this is a massive disappointment.
Yeah, Lance, there's a lot of people you could look at from the Lakers underachieving this year. Goes back to Luka. He's still a bad defender, whether he's in Dallas or in Los Angeles. The defense doesn't travel, clearly. JJ Redick, he gets the blame a little bit for just getting outcoached by Chris Finch. And LeBron James, he can't come save the day like he used to. The dude is 40 years old. He saw a lot of father time with the Lakers. So where do they go from here for 2026?
It's a great question because LeBron's got that 1-year player option at $52.6 million. He's got to exercise it first week of June, so less than 5 weeks from now. I'd love to talk, honestly. Look, he's obviously one of the greatest to ever do it. He brought a championship back to LA. But where they are right now with Luka being kind of the cornerstone of the organization, I'd like to see them rebuild. Now, look, if the deal for Mark Williams was gone earlier this year and you would have gotten a legitimate big, I think things might be different from the Lakers. The way they're constructed right now, they're a long way, obviously, as shown in these 5 games from winning another championship. And got to get bigger. I think they got to get younger, and you can build this around Luka. LeBron's 40. Yeah, he's done great things, and I think he could be a piece, for another organization where maybe he can capture a championship. But I don't think it's going to be with LA. I know it's not going to be with LA in this current run.
Well, what did you make of the of Jackson Hayes playing 4 minutes? He didn't even play last night, but I think he played 4 minutes in the on Sunday. I mean, the guy's played next to nothing, and he's your only center. I mean, is that message you're done? Get out of here?
I think probably so. The rotations obviously were the question mark the entire series. And the substitutions really got brought up in game 4 where LeBron and Luka were not good in the fourth quarter and they looked really ended. And you saw JJ Redick. The words used childish, immature pregame with some of the questions that were legitimate questions, asking about substitution, rotations. But Hayes is one of those guys that it looks like when you don't have any size, when you got Rudy Gobert going for 27 and 24, that's a problem. Like, I understand when Gobert can have one of these banner nights where he's got 7, 8 blocks and he's got 15 rebounds. But when he's going 27 on you, that's bad. Defense was dead last night. It just, it was an embarrassment from a Lakers perspective.
Well, let's get over to the NFL draft. What surprised you, LT? I know
Shador.
I mean, did it surprise you though? I mean,
it did. I got a call from somebody that is very credible on this stuff, and this was on Saturday. And he said some of the things that I have heard regarding Shedeur, with not being prepared on the whiteboard, the interviews being awful, dad being involved in a lot of these interviews and that board work. It seemed like that point was really going to drop. I just can't believe he dropped all the way to where he dropped. He is still an ultra talented quarterback that played bad offensive lines. Offensive line got better from year 1 to year 2. But, in retrospect now, and you couldn't have told her that you wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't have believed it. All my years of watching the draft. By the way, as a young kid in the 80s, I used to get checked out of school when the draft took place during the week. So I've been watching a lot of drafts, and it's crazy. Outside of like the Vikings missing their pick on the clock, this is one of the craziest I've ever seen. I just didn't think he would fall this far. And now he's in the most crowded quarterback room in America, including all of college football, with the Cleveland Browns. And I'm not saying there's any great options there. So he'll have an opportunity, but he's going to have to change his approach, I think. But that was the big surprise to me. That was pretty obvious.
What about Quinn Ewers going so late to Miami? You surprised by that, Lance?
I'm surprised how late Quinn went. I still think Quinn's got the build of an NFL quarterback. He's got those leadership qualities. What blows me away with Quinn, much like Jalen Milroe, is why these guys didn't come back. I mean, if Quinn could make millions of dollars, and look, not as a Texas Longhorn, maybe that was established, that conversation had, it's Arch's time. Everybody would understand that. But Quinn could have gone wherever he wanted. Quinn could have gone back, I think, to Columbus. Ohio State's got plenty of money, and he probably could have gone back there and made $4 or $5 million. He's not even guaranteed a roster spot. Like, I don't know if he'll make the roster now. Miami, I mean, the good news is, if you look at it from this perspective, you can't really trust Tua to start a full 17 because he's always battling injuries. But, I mean, boy, to fall that far and to really not know if you're going to be on a roster in September, that's a little dicey. And I don't know how you guys feel. Like, to me, Cade Klubnik's probably the best quarterback coming back because Arch is kind of an unseen. But Quinn Ewers would have been a top 5 quarterback wherever he goes to start the 2025 season. So I thought, I hope he makes it. Again, seems like a great kid. I don't know what some of these guys are being advised. When you're not guaranteed first, maybe second round, why you wouldn't come back, enjoy another year, really solidify that positioning up into a first-round guy and millions of dollars doing it.
Yeah, I mean, but the Dolphins, I mean, that's a pretty good landing spot, right? Tua, Zach Wilson.
Well, look, I think we've seen enough of that. I know it was with the Jets, but I don't think he's going to be a frontline starting quarterback. Tua, if he can stay healthy, but Miami's got to make a decision. What are they going to really do? If Tua can stay healthy, I think Tua is a franchise quarterback. But, it might be a situation where Ewers goes in there and he's like a Jim Sorgi and holds a clipboard or a Chase Daniel and millions of dollars and gets 1 or 2 starts a year. And maybe he's happy with that. But, it seemed like Quinn, the face of Dr. Pepper and Fansville this year, it was just like bigger expectations. I just thought when we first saw Quinn, early on, the game against Alabama in Austin, what was that, in 2022, 2023? I just thought, before the injury, and it seemed like it was kind of prevalent on some of the injuries he took. So that is interesting that he's with Tua now. I just thought he was going to be a first-round quarterback. I just did. And I still think he had an opportunity if he would have come back, and I know that wouldn't have been in Austin. I mean, if he would have told Sark, hey, I'm coming back, what happens?
Yeah, that probably wasn't going to happen because they had laid out the plan. And they'd all agreed to the plan that, hey, you come back this year, it's your show. He came back, it was his show, and then it's Arch's show.
Yeah, I don't think that conversation was had with Milroe and Jalen and Kalen DeBoer, but it would have been interesting if Milroe said he wanted to come back, because I think there were a lot of people like that already sailed, and not that there's an established starter right now. Ty Simpson, most people believe, will be that guy. But, Milroe to fall to where he did, because there's a lot of people that were like, man, his upside, I mean, when we've seen him at his best, he looks like maybe the best quarterback in college football. So there were some people that believe because teams reach, he might slip into the first round. But for him to fall too, he's another one of these guys that could have come back and gone to, 90% of the schools out there, and they would have paid him a lot of money. And, I thought that was the wise move for him and Quinn Ewers, and easy to say now. But boy, that is just kind of hard to stomach when those guys would be frontline starters and opportunities to win championships and make millions of dollars to come back.
Do you like Seattle as a landing spot for him?
I do, because I think Sam Darnold's an unknown. Sam Darnold, to me, going to Minnesota and playing for Kevin O'Connell and that really quarterback-friendly system that he learned from Sean McVay. We saw it with Kirk Cousins and the deal he struck with the Falcons, and then Darnold, the comeback player of the year, was exceptional. So I think most quarterbacks that play in that system are going to be good. So now Sam Darnold going to Seattle, how good's he really going to be? I think he's going to be okay. I don't think he's going to be great. And this might be a situation where Seattle got Russell Wilson in the third round, thinking that they had the guy in Matt Flynn, who played really well in 2 games to end the season. And obviously that didn't work out, and Russell Wilson ended up playing in multiple Super Bowls, winning a championship. I think they're hoping maybe this is the guy. I'll tell you this. He is 10 times what Taysom Hill is. And I know you guys always bring up the Manny Diaz game with Taysom Hill. And Taysom Hill's making millions of dollars to run a couple of plays offensively for the Saints every year. Jalen Milroe will be much better in that role. So I think there will be packages, early on and off. And I think he'll ultimately have an opportunity.
Yeah. Lance, obviously we have a lot of Cowboys fans that are with us today. Tell them about Tyler Booker a little bit.
Great dude. And this is how good of a dude he is. We had an NIL deal with him the last couple of years, but the NIL deal's up. He agreed to come on Monday on the show to talk about going 12th overall to Dallas. And, the first thing he really talked about were brands, because he is a loyal guy. So when the transition was going on from Saban to DeBoer, there were people, Caden Proctor, a guy that we'll be talking about a lot next year based on these mock drafts. Some people have him going number 1 overall. I've seen him in the top 5 of all these mock drafts. He's a guy that took off and transferred to Iowa, and Caleb Downs leaves, and some big names. But Tyler Booker was the guy that I made a commitment to the university. I'm an Alabama guy. I'm staying here. I'm not going anywhere. And behind the scenes, he was one of the guys that helped kind of keep a lot of that roster intact. But he came on the show Monday and he was talking about the big brand. So he went from IMG to Alabama. And now he's a Dallas Cowboy. So the brands couldn't get any bigger, really, for Tyler Booker. And you guys saw his emotion when he got selected, and literally bouncing off the walls, and just a great dude. And we asked him, who was the most interesting person that reached out to you? And it was it was Jerry Jones. Jerry sent his jet to pick up me and my entire family on Sunday to fly us in for the press conference. So I think what you get with Tyler Booker is not only really, really talented guy, and I was surprised looking at the mock drafts that a lot of people had him in the 20s and maybe even falling out of the first round. You saw with Zach Martin retiring how they wanted the immediate replacement, and Tyler Booker is that guy. And, I was surprised that a lot of mock drafts had him in the back half of the first round, but good for him, team guy, all-out effort, and just a talented guy. So I think the Cowboys, and they've done really good with their offensive. I think they got another gem.
Yeah. What team do you think killed it in the draft?
So I did like what the Browns did, and I have everything in front of me. I love what the Chargers did, bringing in Hampton. The Chargers got Lambert Smith. They've got Oronde Gadsden, getting some weapons for Justin Herbert. Chargers defense only gave up 17.7 points per game last year, which was the top in the NFL. And Ladd McConkey, as good as he was as a rookie, a lot of people probably viewed him as a number 2 receiver. To see what him and Herbert did together, and now you got Najee Harris that goes there with Hampton from North Carolina in that backfield. Harbaugh loves to run the football. I thought the Chargers did a really good job in their draft.
Yeah. What about your Rams? How do you think they did?
Trading out of the first round, I didn't have a problem with that. I wanted a tight end. I think I might have told you guys this. But I was hoping that they would trade up and get like a Colston Loveland or a Tyler Warren. But Harold Fannin was available. I'm never going to question Les Snead. I think I've said this before. I've questioned him a couple of times. He seems to always be right. I'm always wrong. But they go out and they get Ferguson, the tight end from Oregon, who set a season record for receptions and yards and touchdowns by a tight end for the Ducks. So I think he's going to be really good. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of some no names out there, but again, Les Need always seems to do a really good job in these drafts. So we shall see. I was a little surprised that when they had opportunities to go quarterback, they didn't. I thought they would take a look at Shador. I thought they would take a look at Quinn, especially when it got really late in the draft, because they've got to come up with that replacement for Stafford. But I think they're all in, thinking he's going to play a year or two more, and they probably will look for that quarterback next year when it seems to be a deeper quarterback draft.
Okay. All right. What anything out of, no one's talking about Alabama football going into this season. What's your read on, Alabama football coming out of spring ball?
Yeah, so one of our hosts today said, do you guys believe it's Texas, Georgia, and everybody else? And I was like, I don't believe it's that. Like, Texas has got the resources, Georgia's got the history, but Alabama, I mean, we're only a year removed from them coming down to a final play against the eventual champion Michigan Wolverines in the Rose Bowl. If Alabama wins that game, I think they beat Washington. So they're really a year off from being a national championship contender. If they don't completely shit the bed Norman this year against Oklahoma, they're in the college football playoff again, and they were the last team that didn't get in. So I think it is interesting that nobody's talking about this Alabama team, and they are the only team I know in the SEC, I would say in the Power Four, that did not have one guy leaving the transfer portal. So that tells you a couple of things. First of all, that's impossible in today's football, in today's NIL. I think it shows you everybody's really comfortable with the culture that Kalen DeBoer has instilled and he's got rolling into year two. And I think it shows you the collective effort from the collective. And they don't have Texas money. They don't have Ohio State money. I know people don't believe that, but it is true. They've got a limitation on what they're paying guys. But they were able to keep their guys happy and not let their guys be picked up by other programs. So I think that says a lot. I'm fascinated because we haven't had this kind of quarterback situation since going back to 2016, where you really don't know who the guy is until maybe they kick it off. And even back that year, it was Blake Barnett against USC, and he got benched. Jalen Hurts comes in, takes over, and, the rest is history. But I think it might be one of those situations where they're not exactly sure who the guy is going to be. Again, they lean Ty Simpson right now. I've heard from people really close to the program, the receiver room is incredible this year. With Ryan Williams coming back for his sophomore year, Jeremy Bernard, who became the number one option down the stretch last year, coming back for his final year from Washington. And then you've got other pieces around those guys. I think this Alabama team is going to be really good. Defense got better and better under Kane Womack as the season went on. And, the schedule is tricky. But I think Alabama's a team to look at. LSU, Brian Kelly sooner or later has got to get this thing dialed in. I mean, if Les Miles and Ed Orgeron can win championships, when he got hired, I was like, oh, he's going to win a championship in his first 5 years. Still might do it, but now is the time to get it done. I think Oklahoma's going to be much better this year. I really do. I think South Carolina is going to be better than a lot of people expect. Auburn should be better this year. But if I had to bet on who's going to win the SEC, I would say Texas or Georgia, but I don't think it's Texas, Georgia, and everyone else. And I do think Alabama, that win total is 8.5. I would play that over, and I would feel great about it right now.
Yeah. What are you thinking how are you thinking Georgia's going to do this year? Because obviously Gunnar Stockton taking over Carson Beck, who's now down there at South Beach. But is Gunnar Stockton really that dude? I mean, I guess Kirby's won 2 titles with Stetson Bennett. So, you can say what you will there, but Gunnar Stockton, he's got moxie. Does he have what it takes to put them back to the mountaintop?
Yeah, I think you drill it there, Zay, like the moxie. And in that second half, when Beck goes down the final play against Texas with the arm injury, and then Stockton comes in, and I mean, it seemed like such a drop in talent, but it seemed like the crowd and the team were so behind Stockton. You could tell they just loved this kid. And the hit he took down on the goal line, I thought he was decapitated, and he gets up, and they ultimately win that game. I don't know how good he's going to be, but Kirby's got a lot of confidence in him. And you mentioned Stetson Bennett. I think we shit on Stetson Bennett and forget how good he was. I mean, Stetson Bennett ended up being a really good borderline elite college quarterback. So I think he was a lot better than advertised. That helps when you've got guys like Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. I don't know if they've got those guys. Interesting, we had a guy on from Pro Football Focus today, and they did their All-American teams, first team, defense and offense, and special teams. The only Georgia player was Georgia's punter. on the entire team. And I don't remember the last time with all this talent that Kirby has amassed since his first year in 2016. I just don't remember Georgia not having any guys on this first team. And so I think it's kind of an unknown. I still think they've got a ton of 4- and 5-star guys out there. It's just a situation where they're not household names. But I still think Georgia's going to be a massive factor in the SEC this year.
Is that Pro Football Focus preseason?
Yeah.
For 25?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm trying there were a couple of Texas guys on there. I did find this interesting. We had the kid on today, and I forgot what his name is. Max Kirkland, maybe. He did top 10 returners at every position. And where do you guys think he had Arch of the top 10 quarterbacks?
Didn't.
What'd you say, Zay?
He didn't.
No, he had him 6. But that's a pat on the back. I was like, you got to include Arch, but for you not to do what everybody else is doing and just assume he's the second or third best quarterback, I kind of like that. But there were Texas players littered throughout this list. Pro Football Focus. I don't know why I'm doing a spot for him here, but if Texas fans want to check that out, this Texas roster is obviously completely loaded. And are those numbers right? $40 million this year?
No.
Okay.
No.
But Dunaway, one of my co-hosts, he was like, it's a lose-lose for Texas, because if you don't win the national championship, people are like, how did you not with 35-40 million? And if you do, well, you should have. And I was like, I don't know if I see it like that. Like, there's only one national champion. Like, I think Texas fans probably expect that after playing for the SEC championship, a game they should have won, and going to the college football playoff and every opportunity to make a lot of noise there. But like, if Texas was to win the SEC this year, get back, maybe play for the national championship, I think it steps in the right direction. But the margin of error is really, really small with this program now, because the expectations are so high. And I fully expect Texas is going to be your preseason number one, pretty much unanimous. And I know when we get to SEC Media Days in Atlanta, everyone's going to have Texas on their ballot.
Yeah. Yeah. The 40 million, that was poor. They're not going to be much over 30 million. Now.
Oh, wow. Big difference there, Chip.
Yeah. Well, 10 million's a lot.
It is. But I mean, was 30 million not what we maxed out at with Ohio State? Because people were like 20 million, and they were like, well, you got to throw in Chip Kelly and the coaching staff. And so that number's probably 30 million. So 30 million is still a big number.
Oh, it's a big number. And we know Ohio State, Oregon. Here's the funny thing. Texas Tech has probably spent more on its roster for 2025 than Texas.
Well, I mean, Texas Tech, I don't know who this booster is that we talk about vaguely.
Cody Campbell.
Cody Campbell? Okay, we'll mark that right here. But Cody Campbell, like, they're in everybody's preseason top 15. Andy Staples from On3, he's got them in the college football playoff winning the Big 12. I think a lot of people will have them winning the Big 12. And not only that, now the expectations in basketball. So how much money does this guy have?
He's got billions. We
found this out today. Taylor Swift is worth $1.6 billion, and Michael Jordan is worth right at $4 billion. Is he between that number, or is he more than Michael?
He's like at 3 plus,
okay.
3.5 billion.
So he's got a place to sleep tonight. He's got a meal on the table. Okay, that's good.
Clothes on his back. Yeah,
good. Well, LT, I know we gotta let you go, but what's going on over at lanceslock.com?
Coming off another winning night last night. We've got both NBA postseason games up and available. Unfortunately, we did have the Lakers last night, but we bounced back with a 2-0. We've been killing Major League Baseball. Free play every single day. lanceslock.com. $100 gets you absolutely everything. Jump on board and win with us.
Let's go. LT, always fun. Let's do it again next week.
Look forward to it, boys. You guys be good.
Appreciate you, Lance.
There he is, Lance Taylor, our SEC insider and prognosticator. lanceslock.com for the picks. $100 get you everything for the month. Have some fun, and enjoy. Zay, our man John McClain is going to join us today at 3:00. Get his thoughts on the draft. So we'll talk to our man John McClain at 3:00. Okay, so Yeah, so Lance asked about the 40 million because the 40 million went viral. Kirk Bowles of the Houston Chronicle said Texas will spend 35 to 40 million on its roster in 2025. And then it turns out his article was based on an article written by John Talty of 24/7 Sports, based on an interview that he did with Indiana football coach Curt Cignetti, who said he thinks the payroll for a college football roster in 2025 will be 35 or 40 million. And he said Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, he said Texas Tech, Notre Dame, and Miami as the schools who could hit that. Well, that's a big difference than Texas will spend 35 to 40 million. I mean, there are some Texas people who are a little like, are you kidding me? Because they have taken pride in not just spending. And Sark has said, I'm not going to spend and bring in guys for inflated prices when we got players who we recruited, who are, developing. And those are the guys we want to reward. We look to fill gaps in the portal. So, in talking to people yesterday, I told you I'd get on it. I was on the phone all afternoon yesterday. And Texas probably going to be right at 30 million. Now, here's the thing. Don't forget, this is the double dip. So rev share is going to, at some point, get ratified by federal judge Claudia Wilkin, who told everyone back in 2014, just give these kids $5,000 for their name, image, and likeness, and none of this ever would have happened. Think about that. Just let that marinate. But she'll sign off on this. Everyone's best guess is the rev share will be 20.5 million. Okay. Some of that, or a big chunk of it, will go to football. Some of it will go to men's basketball. Some of it will go to women's basketball. Some of it will go to baseball. Each school is going to divide that pie differently. Basketball schools probably going to give more to basketball. So you've got the school paying, I think I'm told at Texas it'll be about 13.5 million out of that 20.5 million for football. Okay. Then you've got the collective still, and they're all trying to get players signed before the rev share agreement gets ratified and the Deloitte managed clearinghouse starts reviewing every NIL deal valued at more than $600 to make sure that it is a fair and reasonable market deal, whatever the hell that means. Some schools are not worried about it. They don't think this Deloitte clearinghouse is going to have any teeth in it. But nonetheless, I think you could put Texas Tech in that category of schools that's like, hey, let's go get it right now while we can. And, before things get reviewed to see if they're a fair market deal. I mean, what if Deloitte says, hey, it's not a fair market deal? What then? Like, kids got to drop out of school? I mean, it's goofy. But that's where, Curt Cignetti was saying, hey, it could be 35, 40 million this year because people, you're going to get the rev share from the schools taking over that payment to student athletes. And some of these collectives, still have money in their coffers. So it was a spending spree for some schools. Like Tech signed 18 transfers. They have the number one transfer portal class, and they allegedly, John Talty, who I trust, I know him very well, who wrote the article, said that Tech paid 2.5 mil for David Bailey, the pass rusher from Syracuse, for 1 year.
Damn.
I was told point blank, no Texas Longhorn, either who was recruited or brought in as a transfer, has ever been paid out of the collective $2 million or more. Now, I think there's a couple players on the roster right now who are approaching that, but if Tech spending $2.5 million, and then remember, allegedly $4 million for JT Toppin to come back, and they paid $1.5 million initially for JT Toppin, pretty good investment. Obviously, Tech got to what, the Elite Eight, or did they?
Elite Eight.
And kid's solid, good player, right?
Yeah, 12th player of the year.
So, would you say it's worth it to bring him back for $4 million? 1 year?
I don't know about all that.
Right. So, kudos to Grant McCaslin. He's a good coach. He managed it. The team played together. Steve Sarkisian has said repeatedly, we're not going to bring in guys at a huge dollar figure and disrupt the chemistry and culture of our locker room. So anyway, that's where we are everywhere I looked yesterday on social media, Texas Bank 40 million. I told you that's all anyone's going to remember.
Yeah.
So it's not what Steve Sarkisian, I don't know how much time he's going to spend on that. I don't think people want to talk about their finances, but I'm told it'll be closer to 30 mil when it's all said and done. And 13.5 of that will come from the school. So the collective would be coming up with about 17 mil. Most of that in retention money, most of that going to guys who are on the roster who have worked their way up. Remember, Malik Muhammad was kind of getting some interest. DeAndre Moore was getting some interest, hopefully from Oregon. So, Texas held on to those guys. Your thoughts?
I think Steve Sarkisian's done a hell of a job of making it a point to reward the guys who have been here the whole time and through the process in high school. Those transfer guys, yeah, they could be really good. Yeah, they could add a lot of value to your ball club, but there's something about those OGs that were there on signing day out of high school when you form those relationships with coach and player and rewarding those guys for being loyal and buying into the process and allowing these coaches to develop them. And obviously it's a different game than what it was 10, 20, 30 years ago, but Steve Sarkisian's done as good a job as anyone in college football at the head coaching position on managing NIL and the transfer portal. Obviously, he has more help than other coaches do, being at the University of Texas with their resources and whatnot. But still, you still got to manage it. Mookie Taft talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Nobody talked about paper in the locker room. We don't do that. That's a no-no. If you're talking money, you're most likely going to get checked by one of these leaders in the locker room who's probably making some good money themselves, but no. You're not going to come between what we've built here, which is big-time culture and a team that's expected to be in the college football playoff each and every season. That's on Sark. That's on the coaching staff, setting the tone very early, and now the players understand that. And if you're a transfer, you better understand that too. It doesn't matter how good you are. Like, you got to understand it's the team over everybody. And I think they got a really good grasp of that in the locker room, which has led to wins and not many distractions. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, this Nick Brooks stuff's coming out. always bad timing. It happens. It happens at every program. It ain't Georgia, but it happens at every program. Sark's going to handle that best way that he possibly can, and it's back to regular schedule programming. So I appreciate, like, I knew that number was fiction. Again, shout out to my man Kurt Bowles. I'm to say nothing against Kurt. Kurt's doing what he heard and what he felt was right at the time. But there's money to be passed around at every university, like you said, depending on which athletic department that university takes more seriously, and the revenue that they're getting in depends on what's getting spread around through each and every sport. And we know football is king at the University of Texas, so that's how it's going down. It's not surprising at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jack says, Chip, the whole country is saying Texas spends 40 mil all in on the roster now. I know. Because that's what happens. They grab that headline. They don't pay it. It's like when a guy gets accused of a crime, that headline flies. And then when he gets acquitted, tiny little thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know OJ didn't do it. OJ didn't
whatever.
do nothing.
I wrote about this in the Insider for this morning. You can read it over at horns247.com if you want the whole story. And there it is. So, and I don't, anyway. All right. So as we look into the, obviously the, NBA playoffs were big. We're going to pick back up with the NFL draft with John McClain here in a minute. But what's your big takeaway from, not the T-Wolves, what's your big takeaway on the Lakers right now? Because basically the, Pelinka and Redick was like, we got to get in championship shape today. It felt like he was talking to Luka. And then Rob Pelinka is like, we got to get bigger in the middle, and we're going to build around LeBron, Luka, and Reeves.
That's where it's a no. I think you move on from Austin Reeves, and this series showed you that. You can't have two horrible defenders getting majority of the minutes on your court. They went at Austin Reeves and Luka. It was like tag. Like, all right, it's Reeves' turn. Go at him. All right, next possession, it's Luka's turn. Go at him. Where I talk about overhelping all the time in basketball and defense to make up for the liability that is Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. You got to overhelp and leave your man to go help their man, because most likely that man's going to beat them. And when that happens, these guys are getting paid millions of dollars. They know how to make the right play. Anthony Edwards would get switched off and have Austin Reeves and Luka checking them. And then all of a sudden, here comes a double team. They were playing zone last night a lot of the time. Why the hell is JJ Redick playing Maxi Kleber, who hasn't played all year long, but you want to play
January?
Since January. Most important game of the year. Maxi, you're up. Maxi probably didn't even have his shoes tied. Probably didn't even have his tights on. Wasn't even ready. Like, oh, I'm playing today? All right, coach. And you're not playing Jackson Hayes. JJ Redick completely imploded. And he needs to take ownership for it. For Reggie Miller to say what he did last night during the game, Reggie Miller was like, in our pregame meeting, I had to calm JJ down because he was still hot and upset about games 3 and 4. Why the hell is Reggie Miller doing that? If people don't know, before every game, this is in the NFL and any type of big time sport in the playoffs, the broadcast crew, whoever's doing play-by-play and color and whoever's on the sideline, they interview the coaches before the game so they can get different stories and different intel, and they can be prepared for that night's broadcast. You know, it happens in the NFL too. They get the quarterbacks, they get the coaches, just a little pep talk stuff. During that pep talk, Reggie Miller's asking questions and stuff. JJ Redick apparently loses it. Apparently kind of just crashes out and starts getting a little like over emotional and passionate and not a positive way.
Was he upset with Reggie or was he upset with?
I think it was just like in general, just how the games have gone. I don't think it might have been like a trigger. Somebody asked a question and it triggered him to say something. And Reggie was like, JJ, relax. Like, we get it. You're passionate about this, but you also got to be professional, dude. And JJ should know that. Like, that's a big reason why he got the job, for his professionalism. You know, for how he carries himself, the Duke way, like how Mike Krzyzewski carried himself. That helped JJ a lot with getting this job, and his IQ in the media and stuff, and how he used to paint the picture when he worked for the 4-Letter Network and was doing podcasts and stuff. That's how he got the gig. But he got exposed this series. Not playing Jackson Hayes, that's an issue. Not really finding any type of, you got to try to stop Ant, but that's kind of impossible. Ain't no way, like you said earlier, Rudy Gobert should be giving you 27 and 24. That should never happen. If that's happening to you, you deserve to lose. Losing 4-1, I'm getting rid of Austin Reeves if I'm Rob Pelinka. It's been fun. He's a good regular season player. Talk about it all the time. Regular season and the playoffs, two completely different games. You have to have a completely different mindset. They both can't be liabilities, Luka and Austin Reeves, on defense. And LeBron, he's lost a step too. He can't just come save the day.
He's
like
40.
He's 40. He's still really freaking good. Really freaking good. Like, he's made some serious plays and some serious defensive stops, but they were undersized. You got Rui Hachimura, who's 6'9", but plays 6'6". You know what I'm saying? Rui wants to be pretty out there. He's not any type of old school big. He's the new wave of big men, which is ironic, Chip, because if you look at the playoffs and all the teams that are having success, the old school power forward around 6'10", 6'11", center around 7 foot, putting them in the game together and allowing them to play with each other, that's what's succeeding right now. Lakers, Wolves last night, Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. You go look in the Eastern Conference, Jared Allen, Texas alum, him and Evan Mobley, really good tandem. You look at Oklahoma City Thunder, Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren. Like, even though the game is way different than it was in the 90s, there's some things that are coming back with big men and being able to utilize
how do the Lakers do if they still have AD?
I think they still lose.
Really?
Yeah, because they don't have Luka. Like, I think they still lose because they're still going to go at Austin Reeves. It'll be closer, though. In this matchup, it'd be a lot closer. But Julius Randle was really good.
Yeah, Julius Randle.
Him and Bron canceled each other out, and you don't say that very often. You would think Bron would win that matchup. Bron didn't win the matchup. Julius Randle, he won his battles.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like Bron can't keep going forever.
Yeah.
And he can't play the 4 anymore, really.
Yeah.
You're right. He still wins the matchup as a 3 because he's 6'9", 250. But as a 4, these younger, more endurance guys are getting him. And he's 40.
He's 40. He's 40. Like, we expect him to just be the same Miami Bron, last stint in Cleveland Bron. Like, nah, man, father time. It showed in this series. And again, DiVincenzo, like that was quietly a really good pickup. He's so tough, man. because he could shoot from range. He's gritty. He's like Italian mob tough. Like, that's why New York loved him so much. That's why he was successful playing under Jay Wright and all those Villanova guys. Jaden McDaniel was really good. Naz Reid was good. They just got a lot of other guys.
How far are you taking them?
The next series, they would play the winner out of Houston and Golden State. I could see them beating both of those teams. I think they'd have an issue with Oklahoma City, but also I could see them winning that series too, because Ant's just so dominant, and SGA, with him not getting the fouls and all those other young guys, will they be able to step up? Now they got to deal with, the 4 or 5 seed, which that's not going to be any slouch either. That Clippers Nuggets series, which is really freaking good. But yeah, the Warriors, Rockets, shout out to the Rockets last night. Big time win. Like, Steph Curry's got that bum hand, that weird thumb. Dylan Brooks got tugging on it yesterday. Dylan Brooks, nasty, dirty mother effer. He
was swiping at it.
He was swiping at it. That's what you got to do. That's what I'm talking about. That's the playoffs, man. And I love the way Steph handled it. When they were asking Steph those questions, Steph was like, well, it didn't affect my game.
Right.
Like, y'all know.
How's your thumb feel? Cold. It's got ice on it.
Cold. Yo, Steph might be pretty light-skinned, brother. Steph's tough as hell. Steph is tough as hell. Like,
well, I asked you because in your take 2, whatever day that was, March 9th, you had Lakers or Warriors versus the Celtics. So you think it's Warriors, Celtics?
Yeah. It doesn't feel as good as it did that day. The Grizzlies are horrible. Like,
who's coming out of the West? I got Denver.
See, and that's the thing. Like, Jamal Murray, incredible the other night, 40-something points. Nikola Jokic, even though he still had the triple-double, he didn't have to be Superman for that team. If Jamal Murray could come along, then your take, I could see that for sure happening. It's just Jamal Murray, roller coaster, man. He could be so inconsistent sometimes. I still think the Clippers could take him to 7, but it's the playoffs has been really good. I've been impressed with the playoffs. Steph's hand scares me, and then Jimmy Butler getting hurt, that scares me too. I didn't expect them to, which the Rockets could tie up the series and take it back to Houston after Game 6 if they get the dub, but with the way the Warriors were just handling the Rockets, like, I did not expect that to happen, and the Rockets should be proud of the performance they put on yesterday, but going back to San Fran, that crowd.
Quad says Wolves, Rockets winner versus Cleveland.
Damn, Quad.
NBA Finals. You think Cleveland's got enough to beat my Celtics? And I can't believe I just said that.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Okay.
Darius Garland. Well, Darius Garland's injury, we got to see how that is, because he got hurt in that Miami series. He's an all-star player. Kyle Anderson, forward for Miami, after they got swept, he said when Garland got hurt, Cleveland was harder to guard. So that's an interesting take, something to look at, depending on Darius Garland's durability for the rest of the playoffs.
All right, I see him in the green room. The General, Mad Dog McClain, the voice of reason in Houston, the one and only John McClain. He's in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame for his coverage of the NFL. Also got his Screen Actors Guild card, starring in movies like Spring Breakers, Cook County, Secretariat. John, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Well, we were just talking about the Houston Rockets what's the level of fever down in H-Town for these Rockets?
I think for the rabid Rocket fans, they're delusional. They think they're going to go out to San Francisco, win the 6th game, come back home, and win and advance after rallying down from 3-1, like the Warriors did against them in 19 when Chris Paul went down with a hamstring injury and the Rockets just went down the toilet. A lot of people think they would have gone to the finals against the Cavs and or the Heat. I can't think it was the Cavs and LeBron. He'd gone back. But anyway, I think realistically, winning the game last night was a big deal, especially after the way they stunk it up in San Francisco, in which they missed 12 free throws. You can't be in the NBA and miss 12 free throws in a 3-point loss and try to blame anybody else. And then they came back and I think shot 84% from the line last night, led by 31, ended up winning by, I can't even remember, 15, something like that. And they did it without their leading scorer, Jalen Green, contributing much for the 4th game out of 5. He had 38 in the game here before. So I think the Warriors will beat them. The Warriors were favored to win. Only the second time a 7 seed has been favored over a 2 seed. But, playoff Jimmy making that, they wouldn't be in the playoffs without him. And when they made that trade may turn out to be better than Luka Doncic because the Lakers just stunk it up. And as Charles Barkley said, Luka couldn't guard a chair.
Man, who'd have thunk Nico Harrison might be getting some grace? But
think about that trade, Kyrie Irving. If he'd have been there the whole time, and if Anthony Davis had been healthy the whole time, what do we think would have happened with the Mavs? Wouldn't it be something if they're healthy next year and the Mavs are really good and the Lakers are looking older? And I tell you, if I'm Luka this offseason, I'm working as hard as I can to get in better shape, to play better defense. When you make an effort and you still get beat, that's bad. And somebody pointed out, I heard on one of the shows this week, that Luka, how many dunks he made early in his career with the Mavs, and he only made 2 this season. For a guy's size, even though he plays outside, that's still unbelievable.
Well, in the Nico Harrison, now people are like, hey, Nico Harrison's trade last year for PJ Washington and Davis, was a brilliant trade because it brought the toughness and defense around Luka. They got the Mavs to the finals, and then Nico Harrison turns into the devil.
Well, also, the reason Luka got traded was because those Las Vegas owners didn't want to pay him like the biggest contract in history, the super duper max, which would have been 350 or 70 million. They just didn't want to do it. And if you do get that kind of money, you got to produce better and more.
Oh no.
We lose John.
Looks like he's frozen.
Yeah.
Looks like the Han Solo, he's frozen. All right. Hopefully we'll get John back. Because we haven't even talked about the NFL draft yet. It's been some good NBA talk about the Houston Rockets. All right, there he is.
Rose, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If it does it again, I'm going to get out and do it on my cell phone.
Well, you're looking good right now.
Thank you. Nobody's told me that in a long time.
Hey,
like 50 years.
John, obviously the NFL draft. We wanted to get your thoughts on that. Give us your thoughts on the Texans and how you felt they did or did not meet their needs.
Every player that the Nick Caserio drafted, and he tries to draft players DeMeco Ryans wants, and new offensive coordinator Nick Caley wants, and he's done that with all of his head coaches. He doesn't try to shove picks down their throat that they don't want. Now, they needed offensive tackle. They bloated up with guards on the inside. and then they needed wide receivers. And Casario swears they never draft for need, which of course is BS. You always take the best athlete at a need position. Everybody does it, but they won't admit it. I don't know why they go out of the way to lie like that, but they do. And so getting the two Iowa State receivers coming from a pro-style offense, playing for Matt Campbell, we all know what a good coach he is at Iowa State. Could go to the NFL whenever he wants. Doesn't look like he wants to because he passed up multiple opportunities. Both of them had more than 1,100 yards. And C.J. Stroud's got to be ecstatic. And they had a shot if they wanted him. Josh Connerly, the offensive tackle from Oregon, Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle of Ohio State, but they didn't want him, so they traded out of the first round for extra picks so the Giants could draft quarterback Jackson Dart. And then they got the Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year, Ariante Ersry from Minnesota. And I watched a tape of all of his blocking assignments against Penn State and Abdul Carter, and he totally shut down Abdul Carter. So there were a lot of good offensive tackles, offensive linemen in the Big Ten, and he won that award. He's not expected to start right away. But if somebody gets hurt, like he's a left tackle, I think he'll play left tackle, 6'6", 331, ran a 5.01. But Cam Robinson, a veteran left tackle, he'll begin at left tackle, and if he gets hurt, then he'll play. So the guy's got to be the happiest. There's two of them. C.J. Stroud, obviously, but new offensive coordinator Nick Caley to get an offensive lineman in the second round, and then receivers in the second and third round who are very highly rated. He's got to be ecstatic.
What do you think of the third round pick, Jalen Smith, the corner out of USC?
I didn't think much about him. Most people had him graded lower, but last year I didn't think much about Kalen Bullock, free safety from USC in the third round. People said they reached, and he turned out to be damn good, and had 6 interceptions and made the all-rookie team. So he's a nickel corner who's played a little safety, who can play special teams. And the one I like the most, other than the top guys, was Woody Marks, running back from USC in the fourth round. They didn't have a fifth or sixth. That's why they took him in the fourth. When he was at Mississippi State, he had 83 catches as a sophomore. You never see a running back in college with that many catches. Had 47 for USC last season, more than 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. So he'll come in there and compete for the third job, have to play special teams, but I can't wait to see him because he fits perfectly with what new coordinator Nick Caley wants to do. And so I that's the one I'm most excited about after the third round.
Man, John, the Texans really thought Graham Mertz was better than Quinn Ewers, obviously.
Obviously, he blew out his knee. I have several friends of mine that have been friends for 40 years. They are diehard University of Florida grads and fans. They told me when Anthony Richardson was rated highly, they didn't understand it. They saw
No. Oh. All right.
They don't like Graham Mertz at all either. He'll end up on the practice squad. But, it was kind of strange. If anybody has a complaint besides Shadur Sanders, it's Quinn Ewers. And I like the fact that, Ewers knew he could take that multi-million-dollar offer for whatever school it was. But, imagine how much money he's already gotten from going to Ohio State, coming back to UT. No telling what he got at UT, especially doing what he did for him, playing the way he did. I think that's a good spot for him. No pressure whatsoever. Work his way up under a good offensive staff and see if he can get the second job. And Tua Tagovailoa gets hurt, which he always does, get a chance to play. But this will be a watch and learn experience for Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, it's not a terrible quarterback room, John. I mean, you look at Cleveland, my God, they got 10 guys in there. And then you look at Miami, it's just Tua and Zach Wilson. So Quinn Ewers probably should make the roster.
It's a good spot to go. They've got good receivers. They've got an offensive-oriented coach in Mike McDaniel, who's very creative. I think if you're going to be disappointed in where you're drafted and win, and you end up with McDaniel and the Dolphins in South Florida, I think you should be very happy.
What do you think of the Browns? Because it seemed like part of their draft was fantastic, and then they draft 2 quarterbacks in a row.
It's pretty obviously Jimmy Haslam's behind this. He made him draft Johnny Football. He made him sign Deshaun Watson to the $230 million guaranteed contract. It's the worst in NFL history. And because you never, ever take a guy in the 3rd round, turn around and take somebody else in the 5th. If they liked him so much, why didn't they take him in the 4th? Why didn't they take him in the 3rd? So now you have Joe Flacco at 40, who didn't play well last year when he got a chance at Indy. And then you have Kenny Pickett on his 3rd team in 3 years. He's been a disappointment. Then you have the 2 rookies. And then I'm assuming that Deshaun Watson will spend all season on physically unable to perform and then be cut in March and be gone. But what if he made a miraculous recovery and in training camp he's ready to throw the ball? Well, they got 5. How do you get enough reps to know anything about Gabriel and Sanders? And when they showed general manager Andrew Berry and head coach Kevin Stefanski, when the pick was made and Berry sat there and he didn't move, and Stefanski kind of clapped like a little seal, it looked like they were being held hostage. And it was clear they did not want that pick. And Sanders handled it very well. I think it's great he gets away from his daddy. And his stories are coming out like crazy. Ross Tucker today said when he was doing pregame production for a Colorado State telecast that he was supposed to meet with Shador in pregame production. He didn't show. Afterward, he saw him sitting in the back of a pickup outside the studio or the facility, wherever they were going. So hopefully, he's gotten that out of his system. Carrying a Louis Vuitton bag with $1 million at your draft party, that's not a good look. But hopefully, he'll leave all that behind, learn from the experience, mature, put his head down, work his butt off, and I'm guessing he's going to be successful somewhere, but it won't be with the Browns.
Yeah. John, in your opinion, which NFL team won the draft?
Zay, I thought the Giants did really well. I thought Cleveland did really well, and the Texans, I believe, have a Super Bowl caliber defense. Don't have a Super Bowl caliber offense because of the line, but that defense is going to have its work cut out because Cam Ward, 1st overall pick at Tennessee, and then Travis Hunter, the best prospect in the draft, who's going to play offense and defense to Jacksonville. Tyler Warren, the top-rated tight end, drops into Indianapolis's lap. So those were 3 good prospects for those 3 opponents. The division should be terrible again, and the Texans should rule it. And I think right now, if I had to pick a team finishing 2nd with 7 or 8 wins, it would be the Jaguars. I thought the Raiders, I loved Ashton Jenney. I thought that was a tremendous pick. They solved a lot of needs. And it wasn't a great draft at the top. 3 can't misses, Jenney, Hunter, and Abdul Carter. And then the other ones, but there were a lot of prospects through the rest of the way. Good general managers can draft in the first 2 or 3 rounds. It's what you do after that separates you.
What do you think of Matt Golden and Baron Sorrell going to the Green Bay Packers?
Well, I needed sunglasses to shield me from that suit he was wearing. And I thought it was great because it's the first receiver since 2002 in the 1st round. It's a great team, great organization, great young quarterback, Jordan Love. He's going to love playing at Lambeau Field. I hope he understands how fortunate he is to be drafted by them. I thought it was just a great pick. He'll fit right in. Christian Watson coming off a knee injury. They throw it all over the place. If you're talking about fits, there's not many fits are better than Matthew Golden to the Packers.
Yeah. Jackson Dart being the 2nd quarterback taken off the board going to New York. How do you like that pick, John?
Zay, I thought he'd be the third quarterback pick going after Sanders, and of course after Cam Ward. And the Giants are going to be terrible again. And I think that with Russell Wilson this time next year, he'll be on his 15 in 5 years. And Jameis Winston might be on his 4th and 4. We might see Jackson Dart at some point late in the season. Now, he had a lot of starts, a lot of games at Ole Miss where he transferred in and played his last 3 years. I watched him at the end of the season, and he did not play well. You know, to take him in the first round, they're looking beyond at the end, the stats. You know what they do in college and games, NFL pays little attention to. They don't say that. They care all about everything after the college season. And there's a lot of good things, but I hope he can handle the pressure that he's going to be under playing for that franchise in that division. But anybody thinking he's going to do for the Giants what Jaden Daniels did for Washington's got another thing coming.
Yeah, man.
And I can tell you another draft right quick, since I know a lot of your viewers are fans. It pains me to say this, but the Cowboys had a good draft. They solved needs, started at the top. I was very, very impressed. One of my shows here, somebody was saying, boy, Jerry did a good job. I said, no, I think Jerry had to take a leak, and they locked the door and kept him in there. And then the rest of them took over, and that's why they had such a good draft. It was very impressive.
Yeah, Jaden Blue. They got Tyler Booker on to help fortify the offensive line.
Got a good corner, too.
In a good corner.
It's a great opportunity for Blue. A great opportunity. If he stays healthy, he's got a chance to get a lot of playing time.
Anything else draft headline wise, John, that stuck out to you that maybe was, above or under the radar?
I'm already looking ahead at all the quarterbacks they're talking about. I've been on ESPN and all sites looking to see the way too early drafts of next year. And I think it's smart. People have finally quit putting Arch Manning as the first overall pick. And there's 5 or 6 quarterbacks who could go in the first round. And one of the things that excites me in that list of top quarterback prospects, not first rounders, but behind them, Sawyer Robertson of Baylor is in it. And that's justifiably so. So any Baylor fan is fired up about what he did last year and what they did about quarter of the way into the season. So it's going to be the opposite of this one. And you'll see the same schools having a lot. By the way, I was invited by Mattress Mac to go to UT's annual day at the Touchdown Club in Houston this week. And I sat at the Mac's table, and he started off up on the dais next to Steve Sarkisian. And then he moved down with us. And when they were introducing people, he sponsored it. And they asked him to stand. He stood up so quick, it was like a Jack in the Box. And I explained, well, he's very shy. He's not used to being in the spotlight. And I tell you, at my table, they announced anybody that played football stand up. And I looked over at Gerald McNeil, former Baylor receiver, and I said, stand up, Gerald. Stand up. They didn't say you had to play at Texas. They just said you had to play football. And I wish he had. But everybody at my table, and I was Raymond Claiborne, one of UT's all-time best defense players overall, defensive players, defensive backs. He and his wife were there. But so we were all talking afterward about how impressed we were with Sarkisian. Now, I heard him talk at the coaches' convention in San Antonio. I was there for that, and I'll be back. First day of that, Craig Way always interviews every Division I head coach in the state. And Sarkisian is just a great talker. And all those numbers he's throwing out there about where the school has been since he got there was so impressive. And I told Raymond Claiborne I longed for the days of John Mackovic. And because it wouldn't be an SEC if John Mackovic was still there. And so it was so impressive. And then he's talking about how much they would spend this year before the new rules would return everything to normal. and all the Longhorns got so fired up thinking about all that NIL money. And I told them it's never going to be normal. It'll be a new normal. But it just blew everybody away about 12 being drafted. Doug Dawson, one of the Longhorns' all-time best offensive linemen, was at our table. And I think that Doug's team in 83 that lost that Cotton Bowl to Georgia. I think overall, didn't they end up with like 18 guys drafted, not 1 year, but overall from the freshmen to the seniors. And now UT's got 12. Next year they may have more because they keep getting players in there. And I just read a great portal story about they've got 10 at last count and where they fit in. So they're going to continue to dominate and be a threat to go for the third year in a row. But everybody, of course, is fired up about Arch. And Sarkisian didn't wait for a question about the goal line first down. He mentioned it himself. I was going to hold up my hand and say, Coach, I know you haven't been asked this, but it just popped into my mind something that happened last year in the playoffs. Has anybody ever asked you if you wish you to put Manning in on first and goal on the 1? But I wouldn't do that. That'd be too disrespectful. And then I'd give them a sick and bears. And when we had to sing and stand and everybody's doing a hook 'em, Gerald McNeil and I were doing a sick and bears.
Well, what did Sark say about the?
He just kind of threw it out there and he smiled about it. He knows. He didn't say I regret it or anything like that. It was kind of a passing reference in a long sentence. But all those Longhorn fans are so fired up in Houston, just like they are in Austin and all over the state and the world at the prospects for next season. That first game, how many games, and we'll see this as it gets closer to the first game, how many first games have we seen that'll have more interest than UT and Ohio State?
Yeah. I mean, rematch of two of the best teams from last year and arguably,
could be 1 and 2 again going in.
1 and 2 again, even though both had a bunch of dudes just drafted that they got to replace, but they've seemed to be stocking the cupboard. Anything else that Sark said in that luncheon, John, that grabbed your attention?
Well, if the Longhorns had still been in the Big 12, I'd have been depressed. And I'm not depressed now since the Longhorns are in the SEC. And I pull for the Longhorns to win because they're from the state. And it's just the roster and everything. He was talking. He didn't go overboard on Arch Manning, didn't show a lot of favoritism because the whole conversation could have been about Arch. And he answered every question the alums asked straight up. You guys know it because you're around him a lot. I'm not, but it was just such an impressive performance by Steve Sarkisian. And that's one reason he's doing so great and getting so much talent over in Austin is because people want to play for him. You got the best city. You got one of the top 2 or 3 universities in the country. And now you got a coach with an NFL background, sending players to the NFL. It just, I hate to say this, but the perfect spot for a lot of players.
John, it was really weird seeing all those prank calls being, around for
Zay, that's the NFL's fault. Like people want to blame all the NIL problems. Blame it on the NCAA. They knew that players were going to get paid eventually, and they mishandled it. The NFL originally sent, I think it was 72 numbers to teams, that players that were going to be in New York and players going to be where they had cameras at home so they could get in touch with them immediately. And then Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk has all this. He sniffed this out. Then they sent the next day those same numbers to 2,000 people in the league, including every coach. Now, Jax Ulrich is going to have that on his resume the rest of his career, snooping in his dad's laptop. His dad can't like that, can he? And then, but it turns out it was all over the league, and that's the NFL's fault for not doing a better job. Next year they'll be guarding those numbers like the White House.
Yeah, that's interesting. John, what anything else from the draft that any team blow it in your opinion?
It depends on, like, a lot of people didn't like Jacksonville trading so much to get Travis Hunter. So what if you traded a number one pick next year for a guy that's the best prospect in the draft, could be an all-timer? You don't know what's going to happen with that pick next year. I thought it was a great move to get Travis Hunter. Can't wait to see him twice a year when he plays the Texans. He's the most, right now to me, the most intriguing prospect that I've seen come in, because he is great in every way: character, work ethic, talent on both sides of the ball, conditioning. Can't wait to see what they do with him. It's the Jaguars. They'll probably screw it up one way or another. But I thought that one was, I saw somebody give them an F on their report card because of that trade, and it makes no sense. And I since I only graded the Texans and I gave them a B plus, because I don't give A's when you don't have a first round pick. I don't have to grade them all like I did for 45 years. And so I'm not paying as much attention to them. I think the offensive rookie of the year is going to be Ashton Jeanty, the Raiders running back. I think the defensive rookie of the year, everybody would go with Abdul Carter with the Giants. But the difference is the Giants already have two really good starting ends, and neither one of them is the kind of guy that would move inside the passing situation. So is he going to play? He'll be part of a rotation, or you're paying a lot of money for one of those other guys, and they're going to be a part-time player. So I can't wait to see how they do it. But based on where he was drafted and his talent, he should, and the Giants are going to be, I don't know if teams will be throwing at him all the time because they'll be behind so much, but he would have to be the favorite for defensive rookie of the year.
Going back to the Jags a little bit, John, what are you expecting from Trevor Lawrence for this upcoming season? Because obviously they invested a lot in him. He got that big contract, number one pick, and we're expecting him to be one of the top tier quarterbacks, but that hasn't necessarily happened yet.
He got that monster contract, Zay, based on what he could be, not what he was when he got it. He's been a disappointment. He's supposed to be a generational quarterback prospect, first since Andrew Luck, ever since he won that national championship at Clemson, I think, as a redshirt freshman. And Liam Cohen's success at Kentucky with Will Levis and his success last year with Baker Mayfield makes me think he's going to be successful with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence works hard. That's not the issue. They need some stability around him. They need a better offensive line. I think the Jaguars are capable of winning 7 or 8 games. They'll be second in the AFC South to the Texans, who should win 10 or 11. And then the Titans and the Colts will bring up the rear. But I think we're going to see a different Trevor Lawrence under Liam Cohen. I think Cohen was a tremendous hire for offensively. Now, we don't know. He hadn't made game management decisions. But when you're talking about a match with a new coach and a player, like Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, Pete loves Geno Smith, but Pete doesn't call the plays. Liam Cohen calls the plays. I think that's going to be a really, really good duo, and we're going to see Trevor Lawrence play the way he's capable of playing for the first time in his career.
John, I wanted to ask you about the John Elway golf cart accident that ends up killing his agent, business rep, Jeff Sperbeck. I mean,
their wives were with them. They were at La Quinta, an exclusive club in Southern California, and John was driving, and Sperbeck has been his agent, his business partner, has been with him since 1990, and they're best friends. And, you know, he released a statement. He's got to be just crushed. I believe Elway's son was also with him, and I'm curious if there's 5 of them, because you'll see sometimes playing golf, a guy will get on the back and he's not supposed to be there if you have one of those 4-seaters hanging on. So I don't know what the situation was, but we'll find out. But because it's such an unbelievably sad story, Sperbeck, I think, was 62, and I know Elway has just got to be devastated.
Yeah, that was one of the most out of left field stories.
Strange, yes.
Okay, got to ask you about the Astros, and then we'll let you get on with your afternoon.
Well, the Astros, they're finally over 500. They're 2 games over 500. They've won. They won this last series. They beat the Tigers 2 out of 3. Before that, they're playing a lot better. They're way ahead of where they were this time last year, but they still are struggling to hit the ball consistently. Their pitching has been very good. I noticed on MLB TV they just had Hunter Brown as their pitcher of the month, and I thought that was fantastic because that wasn't for the American League. That was for baseball, and he has been fantastic. But they need to get their first baseman, Christian Walker. He averaged 31 homers, 94 RBIs the last 3 years with Arizona, and he can't even hit the Mendoza line. 200, struggling big time. And so once they get them to hitting more consistently, they should be better. They're ahead of the Rangers, and they're just behind the Mariners, the division, and the A's are playing really well. So we have a 4-team race right now. It's very interesting. None of the teams is great, but it should be very competitive from here on out.
John, I got one more before we let you go. This Bill Belichick, Jordan Hudson situation is getting weirder and weirder as the weeks go on. I'm sure you saw that CBS interview where she said we're not talking about how they met and stuff, and apparently she kept interrupting. It's just a big mess down there at Chapel Hill, it seems like.
And she stormed out, and then the Athletic uncovered that she was behind the Hard Knocks, the collapse of the Hard Knocks negotiations going on with HBO, and it's still an NFL property, and that they blamed her for that. And the one that's the most interesting to me, this is on the internet now, and when they put it on social media, you can't blame the media and say they're making it up. Steve Belichick, the defensive coordinator, and his son who worked with him for years with the Patriots, his wife has weighed in on it on social media, and she was critical of Jordan. You know, that's good. That makes for some interesting family dinners. I'm guessing they won't have any, but it's a fascinating story to me, just fascinating, and I think it's great to keep up with. She's on the practice field. I can't take my eyes off of that situation. That Bill Belichick, the ultimate tough guy, as somebody said, in the history of guys being whipped, he's got to be number 1 on the list.
Well, John, we know it's undefeated. But what did she do to screw up the Hard Knocks? Do we know?
All the demands that she was making, and she had no business being involved in any of that. You know, she's not on the athletic department's thing where she has a role, but she's dictating to everybody what to do, telling them what to put on social media, how to word it, because those emails are public record. So anything they exchange, anybody can file an Open Records Act and get them. They're going to be doing that every month. I can't wait to read them.
Oh.
She needs to get a private email and email everybody in a private one and not put them out there, although it's just one of the most fascinating and interesting stories I have ever seen. The ultimate NFL badass, Bill Belichick, kowtowing to his 24-year-old girlfriend.
Well, John, you've covered Belichick for years. What do you make of this? Like, it's almost like he's, hey, I got nothing to lose here at North Carolina. I mean, he seems kind of carefree. How else can we explain her being everywhere? She's walking out to practice in some long jacket and little short shorts.
Wonder what those players are thinking.
Right.
And I wonder what the administrators are thinking. And it's definitely taken away from football. And he's always got that smirk on his face. And at a time like this is the time to have the smirk. Like he's getting one over on everybody. You know, he's made so much money. He's made over $100 million as a coach. And he looks like he's having a lot of fun. But once they get serious and report for football and start having to put a good product, they better win or everybody's going to blame her for losing.
Yep.
Well, doesn't it seem like she has something on him that she's just bounding through every wall of self-awareness?
Yeah, I'm sure she does have something on him every night.
That's what I said. It must be crazy, John.
That's crazy. John, great stuff. We look forward to it every week. Appreciate you.
Guys, thank you for having me on, and can't wait to continue to follow these stories. Can't wait to see the Longhorns. Congratulations to the baseball team and Schlossnagle, and I know you guys feel very, very sorry for the Aggies. Thank you.
Very sorry. All right, we got to remember to ask John every week about Belichick and Jordan.
Every week, yeah,
because he's right. I mean, hell, I may start filing open records requests for her emails at North Carolina just to see what the bleep is going on over there.
John called Bill Belichick the most whipped man ever. Ever. You know how many whipped men that there have been on this earth?
Oh.
That's not a good look, Bill, but I'm telling you, it's love. It's love. Got that smirk on his face because Bill knows the carefree lifestyle. I ain't got many years to live. I'm 70-something years old. I'm feeling
so good about this Post-it note bet. Zay's got 9-3. For Carolina, I got the under. Bill's walking around there like he don't care. He's like, hey, they're going to pay me $5 million.
That's okay. So when was that? What's the date on that posted sticky note?
April 22nd.
Okay. We didn't do that last week, did we?
Yeah.
We did that last week?
Yeah.
See, man, more stuff's coming out.
Oh, so what are you saying now? You want me to revise?
I mean, the CBS thing, that's taking it to now 7-5.
7-5.
7-5. The CBS thing changes.
9 days later, we've gone from 9-3 to 7-5.
The CBS thing ruined a lot. Like, why the hell aren't you mentioning, or why don't you want to talk about how y'all met? What's going on?
Right. If you met on an airplane, just say we met on an airplane.
We met on an airplane. Like, oh, stop being so sketchy. Let Bill live.
Yeah.
Like, why can't she just enjoy it? Why does she have? I mean, she knows that she'll have a lot of life to live without him. But
how weird was it that he's wearing the old torn up Navy sweatshirt and she's wearing a Navy sweatshirt?
Yeah, I don't really understand that either. Like,
oh man. Yeah, it looks like he had just mowed his lawn, says Longhorn Bear.
Yeah, Bill's
he's a different cat.
Different cat.
Didn't even mention Robert Kraft in his book.
Why would he?
He won 6 Super Bowls with the dude.
You didn't have no whistle with me when I was on the field.
He gave you the job. He gave you the resources.
Nah, man. It's all me. That's what I'm talking about, Bill. Don't mention no Robert.
No. What do you mean? I'm not playing this game.
That's all Bill.
You're as petty as they come. You love this stuff. Don't act like it's that's normal. You're writing a book all about winning 6 Super Bowls and you don't mention the owner of the team anywhere in 300 plus pages.
I'm Bill Belichick. Nobody owns me. That's what he's thinking. Nobody owns this.
And by the way, Tom Brady was the secret sauce. You cannot, you got to have the quarterback.
Yeah. Tom Brady, he was cool.
I mean,
Tom Brady was cool. He mentioned Tom though, right?
Tom Brady was the reason they won 6 Super Bowls.
Did he mention Tom though?
I don't know. I haven't seen the book.
Oh man. Then how do you know he didn't mention Robert Kraft?
Because they said that in the CBS interview. And Belichick was like, well, I wanted to, talk about my journey and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Bill.
Yeah, that's a petty ass thing to do, Bill. Even for me, that's petty. Like
Well, remember
that.
when they showed up at the roast for Brady?
What, Kraft and Belichick? And
Yeah.
they took that weird picture together?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that was awkward as hell.
Yeah. That was an
But the
awkward
only-
night in general.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. That's one of the better roasts out there.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. Yeah. Nikki Glazer, she's selling out concert tours now because of that Netflix special.
Oh, she's a big deal. She's funny. I think she's hilarious.
Don't tell Elle when I got us tickets to that show.
Look at you. That's a big
So-
hit. Yeah.
She likes Nikki Glazer.
No, she's funny. I don't
All
think
right.
my wife likes her very much.
Eh,
My
it's-
wife's a
I mean,
hater. So it's not, she's a hater.
No.
I'm a hater too. Like that's
That's-
the big reason why we're
That's a
together.
great thing about comedians. There's enough of them that everybody gets what they want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's fact.
All right, let's get some mentions in here. Get to the commentary. It is a off the rails Thursday, but one thing that's not off the rails is snoring. And if you're snoring, it's more than just annoying to the person next to you. It could also be a sign of a major serious health risk. And here's why I love, talking about the Sleep Cycle Center, because I have sleep apnea. And I got a sleep study, and I now have an oral appliance that helps hold my lower jaw open so I get all the oxygen I need while I'm sleeping. That's what the Sleep Cycle Center is all about. You tell them that Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to take $100 off your sleep study, making it like a no-brainer to get that sleep study. And then they're going to tell you exactly what's going on with you while you're asleep, how much oxygen you're getting, how much deep sleep you're getting or not getting. And the Dr. Chad, whose father died of sleep apnea at the age of 60, and he's made it his life's work, has the best technology. He has, the best treatment options. Cannot recommend Sleep Cycle Center enough. So go to sleepcyclecenters.com and set up an appointment. Tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to take $100 off your sleep study, and you're going to know what's going on and avoid a major health risk. Hey, audiovisual consultations, our guy, Tom McKay, the fun guy and the expert in the field, so that you don't have to be lugging, 80-inch TVs around town, punching holes in your drywall. When you're ready for the big screen of your dreams, you just call 255-8678 and let Tom and his crew bring everything to you. You're busy. You got things to do. As Tom likes to say, spend time with your family. Go do the things you love to do. Leave the audio visual to Tom McKay. And it's surround sound. You want a new media room? How about surveillance, electronic shades, new lighting? AV consultations, does it all. Give Tom a call, 255-8678. Tell him Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. And cover 3. Oh, man. Cover 3. I need to get over to cover 3. I need the brick chicken and mac and cheese. That's what I'm talking about today. You go to cover 3 Anderson, cover 3 Round Rock, or cover 2 at 183 in Lake Creek. Go get the brick chicken and mac and cheese. It is so good. And it's enough food that you're going to have some leftovers for the next day. I know that sounds crazy, but they're really good as leftovers too. Go get the brick chicken and mac and cheese. Yes, make some brunch reservations for the weekend. Yes, enjoy the $7 social hour menu with the firecracker shrimp on it. You got happy hour 3:30 to 6:30 every day, 3:30 to close on Mondays. But go get the brick chicken and mac and cheese at cover 3. Do it tonight. Do it tomorrow, but do it. Yeah. All right. Zay, for the chip shot today, touch on a couple things. In just more than 2 hours, Texas baseball, number 1 Texas baseball, taking on Arkansas. And the Razorbacks are a former number 1 team this season. till they lost 2 series in a row, including one to the Aggies, who Texas just swept in 3 one-run victories. But Jonah Williams should be back for the Longhorns in left field tonight. And he's a guy I just don't worry about the atmosphere being too big for him, because that dude's got more confidence than probably that whole stadium of Arkansas fans put together. But this should be a great series. Arkansas can get back on track with a win over Texas. Texas can clinch the SEC regular season title with a series win. That's how they're 5 games in first place in the SEC. The same SEC that had 8 teams in the preseason top 11 and has had, 4 different teams be number 1? A&M, LSU, Arkansas, Texas. I'm trying to think if there are any others. Texas is 5 games clear of second place right now at 19-2. Best start since 2004, when Texas made it all the way to the championship series in Omaha, lost to Cal State Fullerton. But the 37-5 start, now 38-5 start, best start since 2004. And they've been answering, time after time after injuries. Some good news. Max Ballou could be back for the SEC tournament. They're working on that. And Jim Schlossnagle said after the Prairie View A&M game, Will Gasparino appears to be through a, quote, shoulder thing that was affecting his swing at the plate. So this is a big series. 6:00 tonight. Remember, it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series.
Why do they do that? Why do they have some Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and not Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
I'm trying to think here. Is there? Yeah.
Like, I get it to maybe not have the weather be an issue, but I just kind of seen that randomly throughout the SEC. They'll
Yeah.
pick a couple series that are Thursday, Friday, Saturday instead of the actual weekend.
You know what? I'll have an answer for you by the end of the show.
Okay.
But the series is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So tonight, 6:00. It's on ESPN. Isn't it on ESPN?
ESPN too.
Yeah. So that's exciting. I mean, this is a fun team to watch. Listen, I'm not the biggest. I love playoff baseball. I always say I'm all about MLB playoff baseball. Love college postseason baseball, the regional, super regional, Omaha. But I'm not just a natural baseball guy. I don't just gravitate toward watching baseball. But this team, I got to say, man, this team has been fun to watch because they're down 2 runs, they're down 4 runs, they're down. You always think they're gonna make one last rally, and for the most part, they have. So, and Schlossnagle's over there saying, we're going to hit some adversity. And, he's always preparing his team like, we're going to lose a series. There's going to be a weekend where it doesn't all come together. And then we're going to find out what we're made of. And it's like, when are you going to lose that series?
Yeah.
Because you got 3 left. Arkansas, Florida, and OU. Now 2 of them are on the road. This one and OU's ranked, by the way. So there's a couple of potholes out there. But man, this team has just responded time after time. So that'll be It'll be a fun one.
Vietnam's going to be rocking tonight. I'm telling you, talk about Jonah Williams being ready for the moment. All right, it might be him, but is everybody else ready for this moment? Because this is a different atmosphere that I get into SEC. This is the toughest road environment that this team's going to face all year long.
And I hate to say it, but that Arkansas campus, they've got it set up perfectly with all the fraternities right across from the athletic complex, right across from football, right across from baseball. Those kids just got to drunkenly walk out of their fraternity house across the street, and there they are. So it's it's a wild atmosphere, great college atmosphere.
Yeah.
Actually went up there in 21 with some friends of mine who had a kid in school at Arkansas at the time. So I kind of got to see the Arkansas perspective. It's a fun campus. It's set up really well for the social life of the student. And there are a lot of really pretty people there, believe it or not, up there in the
believe it or not.
Well, people talk about Arkansas. I know that's a stupid cliche, but I have been to some backwards parts of Arkansas. I dated a girl in college from Little Rock, and
she would toe up.
Well, yeah, there are places in Arkansas that are you don't want to be around after dark. You know what I mean? You might hear that Deliverance music playing.
Music.
Anyway, sorry, Arkansas fans.
I'm not sorry, Arkansas fans.
We love you. All right, let's get to the right call.
Let's get it. Before that, though, got to get to these amazing sponsors of ours like McCall Custom Homes. If you're thinking about upgrading your kitchen, remodeling your bathroom, or finding something new to your outdoor space, call those guys at McCall Custom Homes. Build value into your home. Over 50 years of combined experience between the father and son duo, and they will turn your home and make it something truly special. Licensed and insured, top quality at affordable prices, in-house architects. They will handle the permitting process, and they will work with your insurance. Give our guy Mike a call at 512-633-9580 if you want to see their amazing work on Facebook or Instagram. Hit them up at McCall Custom Homes, or email Mike at mcCallCustomHomes.com. Hit up their website to see everything they have to offer at McCallCustomHomesATX.com. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home. And Leaf Landscape Supply, full service wholesale and retail plant nursery and landscape supplier here in the ATX. Two amazing locations up north off Pond Springs Road and down south off Monterey Oaks and 290. Whether it's trendy house plants, collection of specialty plants, rare plants to fulfill any type of landscaping job, Leaf Landscape Supply is your one-stop shop for everything you need. Go to their website at leaflandscapesupply.com to see what they have to offer there. If you're looking for different types of trees, vines, tools, pottery, seeds, etc., they got it all and then some on the website. And remember, when you go in and you make a purchase, let them know the crew at TSU put you on and you get 10% off. Can't beat that. Let them know you heard from Texas Sports Unfiltered and your boy Zay Collier. You get 10% off at Leaf Landscape Supply. And Covert Bee Cave, Covert Automotive Dealership, that have been doing it in the greater Austin area for over 100 years and been doing it well. If you don't want to take my word for it for how great Covert Bee Cave is, well, listen to these fine folks.
It's really a family experience. I walked in the showroom today and everybody greeted me by name. How are you doing? What's going on? How's everything going? From a price standpoint, from a customer service perspective, just conversation when you come in, it feels no pressure. I want to buy cars here.
The family buying car experience, one of the best that you will ever have.
Come and experience it for yourself.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
Nobody beats a Covert deal. Not now, not ever. All
Real
right.
quick, Before you launch into the right call, Scotty Scheffler, 1 stroke off the lead at the Byron Nelson up there in Dallas, where he's from. So, and he's only on hole number 11. The other guys are like done for the day. All right, there you go.
A little home cooking there for Scotty. Yeah, good luck to him. All right, Chip. Well, a couple of things for the right call today. First off, Tyrese Halliburton's father is banned for games for the foreseeable future. What are you pumping your fist for?
There's got to be repercussions. You don't get to walk around like you own Pacer Arena or whatever the hell that thing's called. Walk up to a all-star like Giannis Antetokounmpo, try to talk nonsense. Forget it. You're in the penalty box. You got to pay the price. You can sit at home in your big screen from audiovisual consultations and watch on TV until they feel like he's learned his lesson.
That's, again, I don't know if that'll ever happen. He went on some platform, news channel, and apologized again and tried to downplay it.
Yeah, he's trying to get his seats back.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. It was sad. He definitely needs to be penalized for it. I say the rest of the year, I hope he gets a second chance and he can come back for the 2026 season, because not too many people can say that their kids are one of the best players in professional sports and see them live and support them. He took it, went over the top. He went over the top with his passion, his son, his shirt. He's proud of his son. He really is. And when you see your kid thrive like that and beat a player of the magnitude as Giannis Antetokounmpo, I've never been put in that situation, but a part of me, a very small, slim part of me, could understand how he could crash out the way he was and be a proud dad, because we've never seen LeBron's dad before, ever. We have no idea.
Probably for good reason.
Probably for good reason. But also, we have no idea who that dude is. So at least.
And LeBron's mom is no picnic.
She's better now.
Okay, because she's the type that could walk out on the court and talk nonsense to somebody.
She did have her moment. I remember. She had a close moment back in like 2008 when LeBron was really young, early 20s. And I think they were playing the Celtics, and she was in that area where Papa Halliburton was. And like a little scuffle happened. Nothing crazy, because it's the NBA. These fools ain't going to fight. But a scuffle happened, and you could see Mama James talking in the background, and LeBron put her in the place. He was like, "Mama, shut the hell up. Shut the hell up." And ever since then, you didn't see her in anything like that, but she was just protecting her boy. That's in you, being that protector for them because you're the parent. That's why I could see how.
Then what happened with Delonte West?
See, that's just a rumor. And you know what I'm saying? It's a slimy rumor, but also
you think it's true?
A little slim part of me does. The only reason why I think there could be a little bit of it being true is because of where Delonte West is now. That's why. Like, he looks like a crackhead, homeless, just his life has gone as downhill as it could go. So that's where I'm like, man, maybe just there's certain people scorn.
You saying LeBron's team like stripped him of all of his self-esteem?
I'm not. If we're talking about hypotheticals and conspiracy theories, this
is your Italian mob side.
Yeah, it could be something that's just a little too sketchy how that rumor was there, and now Delonte's living like he is.
It couldn't be that 69% of NBA players were broke 2 years after they retire on average.
See, that too. Like, who knows what Delonte was doing with that money? They found
LeBron had better things to do than worry about Delonte West.
Right. They found Lamar Odom at the crack house.
The chicken ranch, right?
Chicken ranch. Yeah, that's right.
Where he gets to go pick whatever girl he wants to be with, even though he was with Chloe.
See, I think Kris Jenner set that up too. Talk about conspiracy theories, just like she's all about her strategic manipulating for the
She
story
set up
for the family.
Lamar Odom to go to the chicken ranch.
Yeah, she knew
Would
he
she
was
drive him there?
unstable. Something. She had somebody drive him there.
She knew it would be good for the show.
Exactly, good for the show. She knew Chloe would be able to get over it. She didn't want him with Chloe in the first place. She knew that was going downhill, so you might as well make it as dramatic as possible.
Is Kris Jenner still dating that brother?
Oh yeah,
rapper?
That's my man, Corey Gable. I don't think he's a rapper.
Oh,
I don't know what he does, to be honest, but that's my man. He's living the dream. He's like Stedman. He's a goat in my opinion. All he does is just
what's his
stand
name?
in the background. Corey Gable, legend. He does nothing. I don't know. He just hangs out. She breaks him off on allowance. I'll be seeing him at Laker games, and yeah, he lives.
Corey Gamble Kardashian. Did he change his name?
Stop. His name ain't Kardashian. You lying. He didn't take her name.
Okay.
I mean, I would too if they got that type of bag. Might as
Corey
well.
Gamble.
Might as well. Like Stedman's probably Stedman Winfrey. Might as well. Like they take care of everything. They wear the pants in the relationship. Good for those guys. You know. So Mr. Halliburton's gonna be penalized, and he will no longer be able to go to games, at least for this season.
You think Corey Gamble's just in it to hang around Courtney and Kim and
no, he's their dad. He's their new
Kylie.
dad. No, he's their new dad. He's there whenever they need advice.
Yeah.
Whenever they need things, they go to Corey.
He looks like a lot of their ex-boyfriends.
What does that mean?
He's a good-looking dude.
He doesn't look like a lot of their ex-boyfriends.
I meant he's a good-looking dude.
Oh, okay. He's not a former athlete or anything, or a rapper. He's not like Kanye.
Okay, whatever. I'm telling you, he's a good-looking guy who, if left alone.
Wow. Why are you putting that on Corey? Corey's a father figure.
If Kylie Jenner's walking by in a bikini, I don't know.
Corey's gonna be like, "Oh, that's my daughter. That's weird.
Okay,
that's a little odd." Don't put that on my man Corey. He's a good.
I'm just saying. Do you think he's in it because he gets to hang around all the hotties?
No, he's in love with Kris Jenner.
Oh, he's in love. Okay,
he's changing her life.
He's changing
everything that she's went through. First of all, her husband was, I don't know, it was a little sketchy what happened to her husband. Caitlin, that situation.
Her husband is now Caitlin.
Exactly. But remember Rob Kardashian, OJ case, all that stuff. It's a little sketchy with what happened to him being a part of that. None of them lawyers survived. None of them. Cochran, Kardashian.
They took a lot out of him.
I did take a lot out of them.
That OJ case.
Yeah, exactly. But
everyone aged poorly except for OJ, who immediately went to Florida and moved in with like two little strippers or something.
All right. Did you see the Pirates fan fall out of the crowd 20 feet?
I heard about it. I haven't seen it.
Well, check it out here.
Oh,
boom. Oh,
double pike position.
Yeah.
Is he okay? Did he land on his neck?
I don't think he's okay. They had to stop the game.
What are you laughing at? Is he okay? Are you laughing because it's this old guy going out there to?
Why is he naked? He's basically
naked?
He's basically naked. Yes.
He's got shorts on, right?
Yeah, shorts on, draws. I don't know.
How drunk was he?
Yeah, he was hammered. He was.
Do you know that? Like, if they done toxicology?
I don't think they did all that yet, but come on. And the way he was
show the video again. It looks like he just jumped over.
Nah, he kind of it looked like an accident. He didn't jump over this. I'm sorry, that's
I mean, it
hilarious.
looked like he got up out of his chair and just went, ah! All right,
That's
let's bring in the
game.
open gym here. Patrick and Matt.
Oh man, you showed that
What's
dude's
up,
still in the
guys?
hospital. Like
Yeah, he's in critical condition, DJ Dog
man.
said.
Come on now. You can't be laughing at that while he's still in critical condition. You gotta give it a little. It's tragedy plus time equals comedy, Zay. Not tragedy plus an afternoon. Oh, you gotta get a little bit more time in there.
It's been a rough week.
It is. I got a video that we showed yesterday that I don't know if you've seen yet or not, but it's worth watching again. And I told Matt we'd share it with you because this is a special video. If you didn't see it, this cameo is
Sorry to interrupt. I'm gonna need to see some ID. ID. Now.
Of course.
It gets better.
.007 Screaming A. Smith, aka 007.
Stephen A. Smith apparently has been appearing on General Hospital since 2016. No idea this. He's a security guard for the mob. That lady was trying to kill the mob boss, and he just went in and straight up murked her. So, yeah, that was on General Hospital the other day. That is amazing, though.
Ain't no way his black ass working for the mob. Ain't no way. What mob is that he's working for?
He's going to run for president. That's kind of like being in the mob, ain't it?
I know. He keeps saying he's thinking about it. All right, fellas.
I wanted you to see that so you have a good rest of your day thinking of Stephen A. Smith shooting a fake nurse.
Appreciate y'all.
Have
a good one, guys.
Appreciate that. Welcome in to Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI. Big show today. More NBA talk as more teams have been eliminated, or one more team has been eliminated last night. We'll get into a little talk. I've seen now 3 2026 mock drafts. We're not going to go through them. Don't worry. We're not going through all of them, but I want to tell you that there is Longhorns in the first round of each of these. And I wanted to go by and just talk about which Longhorns different people are projecting to be first round picks. That's that we'll stick with a Longhorn check because once we get into that, we don't need to get into it already. So we'll do that. We got Matt's Bourbon Banter coming up. We're got those NFC predictions we did yesterday. It is a good show. Yeah, let's see. It says, how you guys not know about that? He's always been a GH fan and made it part of his contract a while back that he remains on the show. I had no idea because I have no idea about General Hospital. I had zero. I don't know anything about soap operas whatsoever. So I was unaware until I saw that clip pop up and then did a small amount of research. That is a crazy part right there. So, but I know for Zay and Chip that they need to see that before the rest of their day goes on. I can't hold that to myself of Stephen A. Smith being that guy. Matt, as we get into it, we did see last night, man, that the Luka Doncic season didn't last that much longer than the Mavs did. There's a lot of people out now saying that Nico Harrison's vindicated, which he's not. But we keep seeing these comments over and over again about Luka. We keep saying it. Do you have mixed feelings about Luka Doncic being eliminated last night?
No, I don't. The Lakers just aren't a very good basketball team outside of Luka. LeBron's old. Austin Reeves didn't show up. They don't have a legitimate big man. Their head coach is a whiny baby who doesn't know what he's doing. It's just that they're just not there yet. It reminds me a little bit, not to the same extent because there's not as much young talent in terms of star power on the team because LeBron is so old. But it kind of reminds me of how dysfunctional the Heat were back in like 2010 or whatever, or 2011, the first year that they were there, because there's just like they just never really gelled completely. And it took them a while to figure things out. I just don't think the Lakers had time to figure things out before this playoff run. And they put way too much on Luka's shoulders. And JJ Redick just is not a very good head coach right now.
I think JJ Redick's a young head coach who got caught up in being stubborn. And you can't be as stubborn as he is with 2 superstars and not the full roster. And he was just ridiculous in that. And we'll get into it here in just a minute. I do want to point out Quad Standard Lab says, bro, you need to know General Hospital. If you don't, you can get a lot more tang if you do. And I'm never even going to call it GH. That sounds too hip and cool for a soap opera. I'm not going to go in on soap operas. I watch wrestling. It's like that, but with way less tang. This is what it is. And Jan says, PD, it's concerning now that we all know you're watching GH. I'm not. I scroll around on the internet a lot, and that clip popped up in one of my feeds, and that's why I had to share it with the world. I don't watch. Hence, I did not know that he was on General Hospital.
My mom has been watching Days of Our Lives, which is another soap opera, since I don't know, since it came out, and I don't know if she's still watching it to this day, but she watched it for 30 years straight. And I caught a couple episodes when I was sitting in there in the living room with her, and I just don't understand the appeal, man. I don't get it.
No, I mean, I get it in that I watch wrestling, but that's about as close as I can get to it, of bad acting and ridiculous storylines. But yeah, when it's like Stephen A. Smith works for the mob, I'm out. I'm good. I don't need to see it anymore. Let's get into what happened last night in basketball. Starting off, we did get a somewhat surprising game out of the Rockets. I'd say more surprising on the Warriors side, that the Warriors just didn't really feel like they showed up. We saw, maybe this is Jimmy Butler when he came back from that injury and wasn't really moving in the last game. This game, he wasn't able to move still really, and just wasn't able to get it going. Steph Curry was 3 of 9 for 3, so he couldn't get it going. And so they basically, starters get pulled relatively early in this game. They, in the second half, decide to pull out. All of a sudden, the Golden State in the fourth quarter starts to make it a game. The starters have to come back in. And we see it just get out of hand with everybody being too amped up. I did like the game plan of let's have our bench players start fights with their starters. That was a solid game plan from the Warriors. Hey, man, we can get them suspended. Hell, suspend all of our guys who have not played in the playoffs, and that's fine. Suspend them for 4 games and then suspend all their starters for 1, and we'll advance. But it was a little chippy at the end, but pretty much written in stone there that the Rockets were going to win that game. And out of all the good things you can pull out of that game for the Rockets, Jalen Green, 11 points on 8 shots, still very worrying, because even in a game where everything was going your way, Jalen Green still couldn't get it going.
Yeah, I mean, you got lucky because Van Fleet was 8 of 13 from the floor and 4 of 6 from 3. I think he had 14 points in the first quarter too, which is crazy. And then Amen Thompson had probably his best game of the playoffs, 25 points. He had 3 blocks and 5 steals to go along with 6 rebounds. And then Dylan Brooks gets 24. If you get 49 points from Dylan Brooks and Amen Thompson, I think you're going to be okay. Yes. But I still have the Warriors winning this series, but it's nice to see the Rockets put up a fight and not let it, completely slip away and keep chipping away at this veteran Golden State team.
No, and so it wound up, but the reality is Jalen Green still could not get it going in a game where everything is headed Rockets' way. And I think this is two-sided. One, if you're Ime, this was a game to really try and get Jalen Green involved. Instead of just, taking the lead and running with it. And, I get it's a playoffs, it's a closeout game. You got to be safe on it. But at a certain point in there, I would have really started to force the ball to Jalen Green more. I would have had him take 15 to 20 shots in this game. I would have tried to get him to clear out some and get him some baskets to the rim. Maybe get some guys to foul him a little bit and get him to the free throw line. I try and do anything to get him to get going again. And it felt like that wasn't in the thought process. But we know the rest of these guys are going to somewhat disappear again when the Warriors all show back up and start playing big minutes. So we know that this is going to be an issue. You don't think you're going to get, as you just said, 49 points out of Thompson and Brooks. So if you cut that back down to 15 to 20, well, you lose that game. And so if we're going to say that knocks down, Jalen Green has to pick up that slack, and he just hasn't been there. I think it's somewhat of a misstep that even though you win the game, you don't really get Jalen Green. He still only plays 28 minutes in the game. You're not putting him back in there in the fourth to try and get it when things are getting out of hand. You just lost all faith in him, and he seems to have lost all faith in himself. And I don't know what you do if you're the Rockets, because you need him to get going. Fred VanVleet's not going to win you this series. Dylan Brooks is not going to win you this series. Jalen Green can win you this series.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the decision either. If this team is going to be the best version of itself as it's currently constructed, he has to be scoring 25 to 30 points a game. That's just the matter of fact about it. He has to be their best scorer. And in these playoffs, I don't know what happened. I really don't. It seems like, I don't know if the lights are too big or something else happened that threw him off, but he just doesn't look like the same player. And at the very least, you got to try to get him going and make him look good in this series so they use him as a trade chip in the offseason, right? You got to do something.
Yeah, and I mean, I get if you're Ime, that's not your main concern right now, that you're not thinking about what are we going to do in the offseason, and I get that. You probably shouldn't be thinking that. But what you should be thinking is, I got to get this guy going, because I know defense wins championship, but we still allowed 116. We won 131 to 116. It wasn't like defense won us this. We just really got going offensively, and then the Warriors kind of let go and pulled their starters because they were all beat up and hurt. And so they just went ahead and walked out of the game. You got some guys getting foul trouble early. Steph Curry got a couple of quick fouls. They were like, all right, that's cool. We'll wave the white flag on this one because we're older, we're veterans. We'll go ahead and go back to Houston, and we'll think we can go win the series in Houston. Or we'll go back to Golden State for game 6. And then if we have to go back to Houston, we will. But it just felt like they were really okay going back to the Bay for game 6. So that game ends up, we get another game on Friday, which is nice because we now do not get the Friday game of the Lakers and the Timberwolves, because the Lakers didn't show up. And I mean, they put up fights throughout the game and they fought back into it, but that coming out of just the beginning of the game was bad. They didn't look like they wanted to be there. They didn't look like they were loose. Like, they didn't look like they were too loose, and they didn't look like they were too tight because they were too worried about the game. It just felt like a team that already was planning its vacation and forgot it had one more game. Like, that's what it looked like at the beginning. A bunch of people that were already planning what their offseason was. It's like, man, we're not coming back from this. So you know what? Let's go out there and play. And it felt like LeBron kind of thought Luka was going to take the lead. And then Luka felt like LeBron was going to take the lead. And everybody thought Luka and LeBron was going to take the lead. And no one took it. And so the first 10 minutes, first 8 to 10 minutes, it's just the Timberwolves doing whatever they want. And then we see JJ Redick, who made the crazy decision in game 5 or game 4 that he was going to not rotate players and just keep his best 5 guys on the court, which has never been done in the playoffs.
So stupid.
So he screws that up. And then he comes out and says, I'm not putting Jackson Hayes in. Jackson Hayes has pissed me off so much, I'm not putting him in this game. Even when Rudy Gobert has the best game Rudy Gobert has had in probably 4 or 5 seasons. Rudy Gobert lights it up, is just eating in the post. 27 points, 24 rebounds. He had 9 offensive rebounds. You need somebody to put a body on him. You got one guy to do it. He puts in Maxi Kleba, who had not practiced with the team. Not even practiced. He hasn't played in 2 months, hasn't even practiced with the team. Doesn't even know all their names. Just sitting there, he comes in, immediately picks up a hard foul where he's just flying around the court. And you're like, what is going on with this team? And JJ Redick just having a complete and total meltdown where things weren't working the way he wanted them to, and he couldn't get players to have the intensity he wanted them to have. So he kept trying different ways to get them, and it never even got close to working. And that whole JJ Redick experiment felt like it was kind of picking up steam at different points during the season. And in the playoffs, it just went downhill quickly.
Yeah, this is what happens when you hire a podcaster to be your head coach because LeBron wants him.
And I'll get it. I'm not going to call him a podcaster. He was a really good basketball player for a long time. He was never an all-star. But he was a basketball player. He became a podcaster, but he's a basketball player first.
I realize that, but not every player, no matter what their intelligence, not every player is cut out to be a coach. There's a lot of intangibles that go into being a head coach, like the ability to command a locker room and command respect and get guys to buy into what you're trying to do in your culture and your play style and all these different things. And maybe he'll figure that out eventually. I'm not saying that he can't, but it was a huge risk, in my opinion, to hire a guy who's never coached before to be the head coach of the biggest franchise in the NBA when you have one of the biggest stars on the planet, LeBron James, and you trade for another huge star in Luka Doncic, and you're trying to put all these pieces together, and you got this first-year head coach who really has no idea what he's doing. He's just learning trial by fire. And he really got exposed in this series. He got out-coached. His team got outplayed. They got out-schemed. He had these weird strategies with the no substitutions, and the Maxi Kleber thing is crazy. Like, I love Maxi Kleber. I've interviewed him a couple times myself. He's the nicest guy in the world, and I hope the best for him. But he had no business being in that game last night.
No,
absolutely no business being in that game.
He hadn't practiced with the team. He played 5 minutes.
Like it was so weird to even see him on the court, and like none of this is helped by the fact that LeBron James is washed. He looked completely washed in this series. Yeah. And maybe that's not going to be the case going forward. Maybe he, I don't know, load management things will be different next season. But the guy's 40 years old, and you're relying on him to carry an entire basketball team. And Luka's doing everything he can, but he got hurt in that game too. He hurt his back or something. I guess he's out of shape. I don't know. And
he took a hard foul.
Yeah, whatever the case may be, like you got, it's just it's like an island of misfit toys in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
like the pieces don't fit together. The coach doesn't really know what he's doing. He has to learn on the fly. I mean, it's just it was never going to work out, and they need to make some changes. I don't know what those changes are going to be, but they looked absolutely dreadful last night. I mean, you score 96 points in an elimination game in the playoffs. That's pathetic.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this is kind of, and it's not the same type of player, but it's the same thing we talk about Texas basketball, where we go, they have a lot of the same type of player. And a lot of guys that kind of follow the same mold, they have similar type players right now, because an old LeBron James is similar to a Luka Doncic, that he's not going to play defense all the time, that, his athleticism is going to go downhill sometimes. Sometimes he'll get tired at the end of games. If you play him too many minutes, which for whatever reason, that did not dissuade JJ Redick from playing him too many minutes. But you had all those factors, and then you throw in Austin Reeves, who is also falling in that category of a guy who lapses on defense at times and is really good with the ball in his hands and can, is a really good passer. All three of them are really good passers, but they all want to be the one passing, not the one catching and shooting. And so your three best players all want to be the guy doing the same thing with the ball. And so then you have to put pieces around that, and all the pieces are very much Island of Misfit toys. And, you couldn't even rotate. You had Gabe Vincent and Jared Vanderbilt play off the bench, but that's it. You didn't put in Dalton Connect at any point. You didn't put in Shake Milton. You never even tried Jackson Hayes. You never tried Alex Lynn. You never tried Alex Lynn all season, really, even though he was the other big guy that maybe could have come in and just fouled Rudy Gobert a few times and stopped him from just getting easy dunks. Maybe could have done that, and it would have been an advantage. But everything that this Lakers team had put together, it felt like everything was designed to be put together with LeBron playing like 30 minutes, Austin Reeves playing 40, and we'll figure it out from there. And when you added Luka, you took away the extra pieces that actually made it work to add one more toy that's already the same as the other ones you had. So it was never really going to work. You thought you were able to pull off, but Luka then didn't play great in either of these games. He had 28 points, but nothing that special. And then 22 points for LeBron, but that's on 21 shots. So again, not productive at all. It just ends up being a huge flop. And now if you're the Lakers, you've leveraged yourself to get Luka, which is a good trade still a very good trade because he's very young. And when LeBron leaves, you now have a star you can build around, which is what the Mavericks did. And you're able to put pieces around him again and be able to rebuild what you're doing. But this leaves the question now. LeBron James walks off after the end of this game. And, of course, he's not going to say, yeah, that's it. 40 years old. I did it. I played with my son. We're good. We know that Bryce James is coming up, but that's still a few years away. So for him to be able to play with Bryce James is still a bit away. But, I mean, I'm sure he'd love to. But I don't know if that's a possibility. And Bryce James is actually the better James kid. So That's the one that he would actually get playing time with, as opposed to, hey, when Bronny's in, you're on the bench. You guys aren't going to play together because when he comes in, the game is out of hand and you got to sit on the bench. But I think that it's really the question now. What do you do if LeBron says I'm coming back? It's no longer the benefit of the team because now he's a huge cap number and he's a really good player, but you got your guy. So when you didn't have Luka, you needed a LeBron. But when now you have Luka, you don't need him. You need somebody else to fill up that cap space who's going to be able to play alongside Luka. That's, Kyrie Irving played alongside him. You can have another player that plays alongside him. I don't think LeBron is that guy. So if you're the Lakers, you're in a weird position because LeBron gets to do whatever he wants. He's still LeBron. But I don't know what you do. You can't say, well, we want to trade you off. We want to trade you to Milwaukee. That ain't going to fly. So I don't know. You can't. Yeah, we're going to trade you to Denver and go get Jokic. You can't. Any of those deals don't work. I think you can go at him and say, we'd like to lower your contract. I don't know how much that works either to piss him off and see, if Steve Ballmer wants to go try and bring him in because they probably gonna have to answer some questions after tonight. So I don't know. It just seems like it's going to be a really weird offseason for the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, they got to pay him $52 million next year. He has a player option, so theoretically he could walk away if he wants to. I highly doubt he's going to leave $52 million on the table to go somewhere else. But, yeah, I mean, you kind of – like the best thing you can hope for is say, LeBron, we appreciate it. You brought us a championship. We would like to find you a place where you would like to get traded so that this is the best for both parties and we can move on and you can move on to a place that you want to be. And then you start to build around Luka, whatever that looks like. I don't know. I don't know any team that's going to want to take on, $52 million of 41-year-old LeBron James. And man, what a time we're living in, Patrick. Can you imagine sitting here a couple of years ago saying LeBron James might not be the best thing for this basketball team?
I can because he's 40.
But it's just weird to say.
I get it, but that's like saying, Tim Duncan might be a little too old to take the court now. I get it. He aged out. It happens.
I know. So it's just kind of surreal.
And the thing is, LeBron could still, if you had Anthony Davis, LeBron's still good for the Lakers. The problem is you got another player who does what he does better than him.
Mm-hmm.
So now he has to take a backseat to Luka, and you can't pay $50 million to one, $60 million to the other, and have $110 million on the guy who does the same thing. By the way, your third best player also does the same thing. And all of those guys are the same player at different levels. They have different perks. We know, LeBron is going to be much more active and much more athletic. He can fly the court better than Luka. Luka's a better shooter than LeBron is. And then we can say that Austin Reeves is going to be the most agile, probably of the three at this point, and play the most defense. They all have different parts that they can do, but they all really want to fit into the same mold. Now, can they figure it out for a lot of games? Yes. But when they play the best teams and you need everything to work, you can't have everything be the same. They were 16-9 in the regular season together. So when they played good teams that knew how to break them down, they didn't have other options. They didn't have things that you could switch to if they could shut down one of those guys. And so it just ends up, it feels like to make a trade. I don't know who wants LeBron, though. You go, does Cleveland want LeBron to add into a really good core to say if they get punked out in this, if they get punked out of this playoffs early, do they say, let's add a LeBron and see if we can get him to, come in for not the full 50 million or figure out whatever we can get to, make this work. We're not giving up a player for him. We're not giving up any good for him. But if he wants to come in and be a part of it, sure. Is Miami going to say, well, we're doing a rebuild. Let's see if we can get Giannis and then LeBron. And so then we have Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo and Giannis and LeBron and make a run for a title that way. Do we want to try and do that? Is there something like, I don't see him going to, what other team is he going to go to? Is it the Clippers? Do they give up? I mean, do they have anything to give up to go? And then he stays in LA where he's happy in LA. Is that the team? Is it Golden State? I mean, Golden State soured on the idea of it a few times, But does Golden State, I think they got Jimmy Butler now. They're like, this is the last run. This is what we're doing. I don't know if they go LeBron in that route. I don't know what team you have anymore.
I don't know that the Clippers really have anything that you want either, though. That's the thing.
No.
It's like they're kind of in a catch-22 situation because nobody's going to trade them a star. Like, they're not going to get Giannis or Jokic or anything like that. And, there's not really any players below that level that they're going to want to go out and pursue. They can match the contract that LeBron's going to have and can be a real benefit to their team, unless like the Suns just say screw it and they send Devin Booker or something like that. Like, I can't really think of a scenario.
But why would Devin Booker, like, why would you give up a really good player for a guy who's gone in a year?
That's
what I'm saying. Bradley Beal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like there's not really a realistic scenario in which you could trade him that makes sense for both parties. Yeah. So I think they're just gonna kind of be stuck with them, and it sucks for them. I hate it for LA, not really because I hate the Lakers, but they're just in a bad situation because I don't know how you give LeBron James $100 million at 40 years old. It just doesn't make sense. Like, eventually everybody breaks down eventually, and it was bound to happen.
And it was bad, but the whole problem, again, LeBron works if you build a team around LeBron. Luka works if you build a team around Luka. But the league is too good right now. This isn't, maybe 20 years ago it could have worked, but right now the league is really, really good. And teams are putting together teams that they think are unstoppable, and they're getting punked out. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's, we saw the Suns, and they were like, we got Kevin Durant and Luka and Devin Booker and all, and they can't even make the playoffs. Like, this league is really tough right now. There's a lot of really good teams, and for the Lakers, the problem, you have to build the entire team around one of those guys, and Anthony Davis fits with either one. But the problem is you traded Anthony Davis to get the other one, and now you're kind of stuck because you have to figure out a way to fill that out. And is it even if you say we'll get Kyrie Irving at the second half of next year, and we'll be able to go get a Kyrie Irving, that doesn't get you over the hump because you still got to get big men.
And now you got 4 guys who want to have the ball in their hands all the time.
Yeah, and I think Kyrie can play alongside them because he's played alongside with both of them before. But again, it is that. And at a certain point, do you say, well, to keep LeBron, let's get rid of Austin Reeves? That seems silly. Like, to get rid of your young talent to appease LeBron by bringing in other old guys or bringing it. I just don't know what you're able to do in that one. I think maybe your best scenario is finding the Knicks if they're pissed off and maybe getting a big guy from the Knicks and going after Mitchell Robinson or going after Katz or some. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what you could pull off to make this work, but it feels like they're going to be stuck trying to do it. Speaking of the Knicks, they got to play tonight. This feels really much like the Knicks are going to close this one out tonight. If it goes to 7, it'll be a ton of fun to watch a game 7. But Detroit's going to try and push this out. The Knicks are a better team overall. We've said that a bunch of times. But this is going to be another tough game. Are they going to be able to slow down Jalen Brunson for 2 games in a row? If they do, this Detroit team is ahead of schedule because you don't really expect them to win a series. You don't expect them to do much. But if they're able to start slowing players down and defensively impose their will and be bad boys, that's when the Pistons will start being a problem for the next several years.
Yeah, I would really like to see that. I'm a big fan of the Pistons just in general. I've always loved the mentality of those basketball teams. Like those teams with Ben Wallace back in the day. Remember that? Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Richard Hamilton, Chauncey Billups. That was one of my favorite basketball teams of all time. So I love that they're relevant again. I don't think they're going to win tonight. I thought they were going to get closed out in the last game, but I think it's just an inevitability. It's a matter of, if they can stretch it to 7, New York's in real trouble for the next series. But I just like that they're good again, man. I would like them to be sort of the Oklahoma City of the East going forward, like the young team that comes up and really takes control of the conference. I would love to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, to get Cade Cunningham on TV a little bit more would be fun. He's a really good player, an exciting player to watch as they continue to build that team. We also get the Nuggets and Clippers. Denver leads that series 3-2. This is another one where the Clippers have done everything in their power to get to where they're at, and now they are somewhat stuck because it feels like there's not enough. Again, the the NBA is really good right now. They brought in James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. They even had Paul George, and they thought this is going to be the thing. They couldn't get any of them on the court at the same time. Now you've got Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. You think you should be able to compete. They've been getting knocked out in the first round by a team that is basically playing really somewhat directionless basketball just because they've had out of this world performances by Jokic and by Murray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's a PSA to any NBA team out there who's hoping to win a championship. Don't put James Harden on your roster. It's a curse. I'm convinced it's a curse at this point. They should have been able to win this series. Denver doesn't have a coach. They're playing backyard basketball, and they're relying completely on Jamal Murray and Jokic, and they're doing all these crazy things. And you're still, you got Kawhi, you got James Harden, and you're still finding yourself down 3-2 on the verge of elimination, and it's kind of pathetic if you ask me. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I haven't watched a whole lot of that series, but man, can James Harden just win a playoff series?
No, never again. Never again.
Never. It's never going to happen. What the problem is, Patrick? With James Harden is that when it comes to playoff time, he really has to buckle down. And he has to stop going to the strip clubs, and I think that throws his game off.
Yes, that sometimes you just got to buckle it down, and there's no real. I don't know what the strip club scene in Denver is. Maybe that's why it's been a problem too.
Could be.
I don't know if he's got that. He needs to play in places that haven't. Zubats has had good games in this series as well. He's played really well for you, but a little bit of that lack of depth because all your money's really focused into two guys and you just don't have the money to spend around on other people. And a little bit of the fact that those guys haven't played together enough to build up chemistry, that Kawhi Leonard's good, but he's not necessarily playing great team basketball where a guy like Kawhi Leonard thrives is when he's playing with a team that is functioning, really well around him. That'll be a really sad one. If the LA is completely out of this playoffs by tonight, like if we wake up tomorrow, May 2nd, and the Lakers and Clippers are both out, first of all, betting odds are like Vegas is just thrilled because so many people put futures bets on those guys. So both of them will be thrilled. Dog says strip clubs in Denver, not good. I've never been to Denver, so I couldn't tell you. And even if I had, I probably wouldn't have been the first thing I went to go do. But the Clippers, if that knocks them out, I know that the bettors are already thrilled. Bettors are not thrilled, but the Vegas is thrilled about the Lakers getting eliminated because there was a ton of future bets on that. But yeah, if LA is completely out, that is going to be ridiculous. Just
the NBA is going to hate that too.
Yeah. Just be like, hey, let's see how many small market teams we can get to go. To beat them. At least I'll have Boston and New York. You're going to hear a lot about Boston and New York. If Detroit beats New York, the NBA may just shut it down. Postseason's over, you guys.
See, this is the problem, Patrick, and you pointed it out with LA. It's kind of the same with the Clippers. These teams are building their entire franchise around these huge contracts for 2-star players, right? And the teams that are the best in the NBA right now are the ones with Boston has their 2 stars. But Oklahoma City is kind of a 1-star team with a bunch of really good players. Cleveland is a 1-star team with a bunch of really good players. Detroit is becoming that. Like the Mavericks were that, and then they traded Luka, and now they're not that anymore. So,
and the Mavericks
it's kind of the way the NBA is going at this point.
The Mavericks are a little different, but because Kyrie Irving's problems, they were able to get him on a pretty good deal where he was still making a lot of money, but he wasn't making max money. So max contracts are what kill you. Once you get back under max, you feel a little bit better. $30 million a year doesn't kill you as much as 60 does.
Exactly.
And so it is. And reality is Oklahoma City and Cleveland, what they're thriving on is draft picks. They got a lot of draft picks and they've drafted pretty well. And so you can have a ton of guys. Now, when they have to start paying all these guys, that team's going to break up and it won't be as good.
Mm-hmm.
Like both those teams, when they have to pay Mobley and they have to pay Darius Garland, and I think they've already paid Darius Garland, but you've still got Donovan Mitchell on that team. You're paying Jared Allen. But if you have to pay Evan Mobley and some of these other guys on the bench, that gets a little bit tougher when you have to go back to Oklahoma City and pay Jalen Williams, and you have to pay Chet Holmgren, and you have to start paying guys a little bit more. Now, how much is a Chet Holmgren contract going to be in a couple of years? Because we know everybody's going to want him. So, guys like that, that's when it starts to get a little bit tougher. But even then, you can say the Mavs, they had Kyrie Irving. They got him on a good deal. The Spurs are trying to pull that off with De'Aaron Fox, and it's trying to say, let's not have him be a max player, because if you're not a max player, we can really build something. But if we have to have you on a max contract, it's really going to hamstring us because you're not that player. You're not, we need 2 Wimbies. If we're paying 2 maxes, they both need to be Wimbies.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have one guy and then a much worse player or a much less valuable player who's also making the same amount of money. That'll kill us when we're trying to build a team, and too many teams have done that. And it just ends up, that's the whole thing with Jaylen Brown over in Boston. That was a long time of the contract. They didn't want to get stuck doing it. And Jaylen Brown had to go out and show in the fourth quarter, I'm a better player than Jason Tatum is. So if you don't have me, you're not winning championships. And then they said, okay, we'll pony up money at that point. We have enough other good pieces around. We can make it work. The aprons are a big thing. The new salary cap, people hate it because it's, really trying to kill dynasties, but it's making it a lot harder to build a really good team. I think eventually it may even itself out, but right now it's difficult with those aprons because they don't want dynasties. They don't want to have a team be great for 10, 15 years if that team isn't the Lakers or the Celtics. They're fine with them, but they don't want San Antonio to have a 10-year run. They don't want to have Denver have a 10-year run. They don't want to have a smaller market team have a big run. So they're really trying to push to make, get those aprons and say, we're going to really hamstring you if you're going to try and spend more money in a smaller market.
Yeah. The NBA hates small market teams. It's like their worst nightmare is San Antonio winning 3 championships in 5 years, or Milwaukee going back to back, or something like that. They hate it. They want the Lakers and the Knicks and the Celtics to be the dominant team. So, it's not a surprise that they implemented that kind of a rule to kind of prevent that stuff.
All right, let's go over and look at a little bit of the mock drafts. We'll get off NBA for a little bit before we take a break, though. I want to get into the 2026 way too early mock drafts and just look at who guys picked. And I can tell you who their number 1 selections are as well, but I have pulled aside who they have taken for the Longhorns. And I can tell you there is 1 Longhorn in the first round of all 3 of these drafts. That is the same. There is 2 Longhorns on every 3 of the 3 mock drafts I have, which is Jordan Reed, Dane Brugler, and Todd McShay. They all have way too early mock drafts out. All 3 have 2 Longhorns in the first round. One of them is the same. One of them is different in all 3. So that is a total of 6 players that are sorry, 4 players. 4 players. I can do math. But Rob Evers say never do math live on air. 4 players that have been mocked in the first round to keep an eye on to see if they come out. We'll start off with Dane Brugler since he's your guy. And Dane Brugler is the one of the 3 that actually has Arch Manning in it. Both Todd McShay and Jordan Reed do not put Arch Manning in it. They don't put it in there. It's like he's not coming out. We know he's not coming out. Dane Brugler mentions that he's probably not coming out, but still puts him in. And so he has Arch Manning going number 1 overall, which is not surprising. That is his number 1 overall guy is Arch Manning. In his mock draft, he also has Anthony Hill, the common name on all of these mock drafts, Anthony Hill going 12th overall. So he has Anthony Hill and Arch Manning in his mock draft. If we go over and look at ESPN's Jordan Reed mock draft, he will actually have his first overall pick. He has the Browns trading up to get it and taking Cade Klubnik as his number 1 overall pick. But then when he has Anthony Hill at number 11 and Malik Muhammad as his number 30 pick in that draft. And somewhat too about where these rankings are is about where he feels team needs are going to be and all of that. So I didn't put the teams on here. It's not really in any sort of correct order. But that's where he has them right now is roughly in there. But Manny Muhammad is who he has as his third guy. And then looking over at Todd McShay's mock draft, is way too early. His number 1 pick is the Jets taking Garrett Nussmeier. So that is his number 1 overall pick for next season. And then he has Anthony Hill at number 19. So he has him the furthest down. And then it's somewhat surprising. I was not expecting this one. His number 30 pick is DeAndre Moore.
Really? Okay.
Was not expecting that, but it does make sense. Just tracking history that the Longhorns have had one wide receiver taken in the first round the last 2 years. And they had, at least one of them was not a guy you would have expected to be right off the bat. And they've also had 2 guys that are very close to being in that run, because we know Isaiah Bond would have been close to it if he had not had his off the field issues. And we know that Adonai Mitchell was there. So we can say they produce wide receivers that can go in. His numbers were pretty good for being a 4th, 5th option last year. He found a lot of numbers. So that is actually the one that he throws in there. So we do, at the end of the day, get Anthony Hill on all 3 mock drafts. No big shocker there. Anthony Hill is the man. He's going to be either the first linebacker taken or the second. It'll be interesting to see how much more they use him in rushing and how much teams are going to try and use him as an edge rusher at points, or are they going to leave him in that linebacker position? He can do both, but he plays that linebacker position really well. So we'll see what they think of him in that position. But Manny Muhammad, glad to see him getting some love. We know after Johnny Barron, he wasn't always getting the love, and then we see DeAndre Moore. Enjoyed seeing him get the love.
Yeah, no, I love seeing DeAndre Moore in there. I think he's going to be probably the Ryan Wingo gets all the shine for his talent and his physical ability, which is totally understandable. But DeAndre Moore is going to be the guy that they count on in the clutch and in big moments and when they need a big play, I think. So it's good to see that he's getting some recognition. He's such a hard worker, and I really do think he's going to be a star on this team. I also like seeing Muhammad in there. I think that he didn't get enough shine last year because Jahdae Barron took all the headlines because he was so good and so impactful. But people just weren't throwing at Manny Muhammad last year because he was so good. And he had a couple of breakdowns. He gave up a couple of plays. Everybody does. But he is a real legitimate first round caliber talent. So I'm glad that Jordan Reed recognized that. And Anthony Hill's just a beast, man. He's just an absolute beast. He's the next, he's going to be, he has an opportunity to be Micah Parsons if he wants to be Micah Parsons, or he has an opportunity to be Fred Warner if he wants to. He can go either way. This guy is going to be an absolute superstar.
And what's funny is you look at him, and just as a linebacker, I think they'll play him more at linebacker this season. Now, Sark's pretty good about giving guys, and he'll rush, but he'll rush from the linebacker spot more than on the edge probably, because you just have really good edge rushers right now. Mm-hmm. You have this is the best edge room you've had. And when Anthony Hill was a freshman, that was a little bit more of a concern, that edge room. And so he did have to do it a couple times his freshman season. But even last year, you started to have some guys step up, and Colin Simmons took away some of those rushes. So now when you say, well, we got Colin Simmons there, so he'll blitz some, but he may pick which hole he's going to blitz from instead of lining up on the edge and coming straight at you. And so, I mean, that's that flip of, maybe it hurts your draft stock a little bit if you're just a linebacker, even though you can do everything. Maybe it drops you a couple spots, but he's still that type of player that he's going to be a first-round pick. Even though we saw last year there was whatever that guy from the OU that covers OU that said the one guy he wasn't worried about, or the one weak link on the Texas defense, was Anthony Hill. And everybody went, have you watched this team at all ever? I feel like you're missing out. He's like, no, he just gets a little too jumpy sometimes, and he overcommits. I'm like, I think you're not watching the right stuff here. You're getting a little too bad on there. And Hair of the Dog, if Burt goes in the first round, we're still going to claim him. We'll still claim him as my Texas, but he played more time at Texas than Miami. Something tells me that he is not going to have the type of season. Now, maybe Carson Beck, only gets the ball. It's like the 50 every time, and he just nails a bunch of 60, 70 yarders. And so he is a first-round pick, the greatest kicker of all time. I'm going to guess that doesn't happen.
That would be my guess too. There's only one Sebastian Janikowski.
He's gonna have to start drinking a lot more and way too much hair to be a sea bass.
That's true. The other thing about Anthony Hill is even if like he plays most of the season just as a traditional linebacker and that does somehow affect his draft stock a little bit, once he gets into the NFL Combine and he starts showing off his athletic ability and his 40 time and his strength and his quickness and all these different things, he's just going to shoot right back up. So I'm not worried about that for him at all. I think that Texas is very fortunate this year because at the linebacker position and at the edge position, they're going to have 4 guys who could rush the passer at any point, any time, in any game. And he's as talented as any of those guys at rushing the passer. So he'll have plenty of opportunities to do it and plenty of opportunities to prove that he can play either linebacker spot or on the edge or whatever. I just, what really makes me happy about 2 of these mock drafts is that they got the message that Arch is not going to be in it. That really makes me happy.
Yeah, and Brugler even says in he's like, I don't think he'll be in this draft.
Yeah,
so all 3 of them don't think they'll be there. 2 of them just said, well, to make this more realistic, we won't even put him in. And Brugler, I think, just wanted to show the respect of he would be number 1 if he goes.
Yeah.
So
here's another interesting thing from this NFL draft, Patrick, too, is, and I was talking about this the other day with one of my buddies, but let's say New Orleans has the number 1 pick, right? Because it's certainly possible that they're going to have the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
If Arch for some reason does come out, these are their 2 options. They can take Arch, the legacy of one of the best New Orleans Saints quarterbacks of all time, not named Drew Brees. You know, the talent that everybody wants, that is the future of football as far as most people are concerned. Or you also, one of the other top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in that class who could certainly be deserving of the number 1 pick is Garrett Nussmeier, who is the son of the New Orleans Saints offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Imagine being in that position. Imagine being Nussmeier's dad, and you're sitting there with the number 1 pick, and you have to choose between Arch and your son. And you choose it, like, obviously you probably choose Arch, right?
Well, yeah.
Imagine having that conversation with your son later. It's like,
you're not.
I love you, son. I love you, son, but I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, well, hey, I know that you used to wet the bed. We can't have bedwetters in here. So we had to go out and get Arch Manning. That's a tough one. Hey, here's the good news is he may not have a job after this year. So everything he may not have to make that decision.
That's true. That's very true. But imagine being in that position though. That would be brutal, man. I hope that doesn't happen to him.
You know that you have to go to Kellner and be like, you need to tell him that I fought for him though. Like, just tell him that, like, I really fought for him, but the rest of the team voted for Arch, and I couldn't get it done, but I fought for him. And they show the footage, and he's like, Arch all day. No, but we'll see. I mean, they're hoping that Tyler Shuck is their guy of the future right now, so they may not even need a quarterback. You know, they've got their guy of the future, and I mean, he may only be able to play for another 4 or 5 years before those knees give out, but when he does, those 4 to 5 years, just straight championships written them all over him for New Orleans there.
The 27-year-old who's played 1 real season of college football from start to finish.
Yes, he will be the trivia question of the last player drafted born in the 1900s. Tyler Shuck. That is the most likely answer to the trivia question, which is because he was the last player drafted, and you're like, who else is going to come out in the NFL draft who is older than him? So that is your trivia question for the day. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. When we come back, we're going to get into Matt's bourbon banter since he is going to be off tomorrow. We are going to be able to get into that today and get you ready for the weekend a little bit early. I won't complain about that for getting into the weekend a little bit early. We still got to finish out our NFL predictions. We did the AFC yesterday. We'll get into the NFC today. We may talk a little college football as well, maybe some bold predictions for the NFL. We'll see where we go and what time we got. Anything else you guys want to talk about, throw that in the chat, throw that in the text line. We'll be right back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
The best sports bar in Austin, Texas, USA, America is Cover 3. They've got everything you're looking for in a great sports bar TVs everywhere, so there's not a bad seat in the house, and they've got the right games on. You're not going to have to ask the bartenders, the waitresses, the waiters for the game that you want to watch. They know the games that you want to watch, and the food. My goodness, that's what separates Cover 3 from the other sports bars out there. An upscale menu with tons of great items. You got to try the Sean Adams prime rib sandwich. They've got the filet mignon. They've got the fish tacos. Of course, all of the sports bar classics like wings and nachos as well. Great burgers, great salads. I'm telling you, something for everyone. Of course, the full bar happy hour prices, the weekend brunch. You got to check them out. Anderson Lane, Round Rock, and San Antonio. And, of course, Cover 2, 183 and Lake Creek. It's Cover 3. Dining, spirits, sports.
Hi, I'm Dan Covert with my wife Hayden. Welcome to Covert BK.
Our newest location in the gorgeous Hill Country includes Buick, GMC, Cadillac, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and hundreds of pre-owned and certified vehicles for you to choose from. We have 3 service departments that are ready to take care of your car, truck, or SUV with 86 service bays to accommodate any repair and get you in and out quickly. Come visit us today to select the vehicle you've been dreaming about.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
Shout out to Leaf Landscape Supply, a full service and wholesale and retail plant nursery and landscape supplier here in the ATX. They have 2 terrific locations. Y'all should check both of them out. If you're up north, hit up the one on Pond Springs Road. If you're down south, hit up the one off Monterey Oaks and 290. If you're looking for large quantities of supplies to fulfill any landscaping job, trendy house plants, a collection of specialty plants and rare plants, Leaf Landscape Supplies, your one-stop shop for everything you need. Go to their website at leaflandscapesupply.com so you can check it out before you get there what you want. And when you do get there and you're in the checkout line, let them know your boy Zay Collier put you on, the boys at Texas Sports Unfiltered, and you get 10% off. 10% off, can't beat that at Leaf Landscape Supply.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
I got this, Dad. This is Camilla McKay, and my dad can help with any TV or stereo needs you have around your house. Just call him, and he will come to you with advice and a great price. And the guys that work for him are awesome. They can install anything, anywhere. So, like my dad says, just relax and smile. We handle all the work.
So just give us a call at 255-8678 or on the web at avconsultations.com.
The best sports bar in Austin, Texas, USA.
Back here on Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. As my phone starts playing something random, who knows what that is. Patrick Davis here alongside Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI. I saw a text come in and says, no Trevor Gooseby is surprising there in our mock drafts. I don't think it's super surprising because he just hasn't been a starter yet. So a lot of the guys have already played as a starter. That's how they know. So Trevor Gooseby could be projected to be there eventually, but it's hard to say. This guy who's never really been a starter is going to come in. But I think that I still think the Longhorns get 3 guys in the first round pretty easily next year. Even if we say no Arch, I still think they can do that. And Trevor Gooseby is a good shout there of somebody who could definitely climb into that spot as an offensive lineman who's a first rounder. He just hasn't played enough yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar situation to Cam Williams, who was stepping in as a first-time starter last year, and then once people got a lot of tape on him and saw what he could do at the right tackle spot, he immediately became an NFL draft prospect. And a lot of people, early on and through the season, through the first 5 or 6 games, had him going as a first or second-round pick. He eventually slipped, but Trevor Gooseby's kind of on that same path. He'll be a first-time starter next year. He'll get to show out as their lockdown left tackle, and I think he'll get a lot of draft consideration.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll still see what CJ Baxter does. It'll be the injury concern will be there, but if CJ Baxter, if he just has a knockdown, drag-out season at running back for Texas, you never know where he ends up. There will just be a number of guys that could pop in, but it'll be a fun one for sure. But I do like that shout-out for Trevor Gooseby. I just don't think he's played enough yet. Matt, you will be out tomorrow. But you normally do Matt's Bourbon Banter on a Friday. So I thought we would do it today. I believe my man Ty Henderson is going to sit in tomorrow for you, and so he'll be joining the show tomorrow. But since we won't have you tomorrow, I thought you'd give us a little sneak into the weekend. It's like 5 o'clock on a Thursday. We're close enough to the weekend to enjoy some liquor and get ready for it. So what do you got for us this week here on Matt's Bourbon Banter?
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock on the East Coast already, so we got 6 minutes until 5 o'clock in the Central Time Zone, so we're good. So I'm kind of cheating a little bit this week. We got Cinco de Mayo coming up, Patrick, so I'm changing things up just a little bit. I'm going with the tequila this week. This is going to be the only tequila that I do this year, so buckle down for some more bourbon later on. But with Cinco de Mayo coming up, I'm going to be making a lot of margaritas this weekend, drinking a lot of margaritas this weekend, and I'm going to have one go-to tequila to do that, and it's Lalo. Lalo is it's a Blanco tequila. This particular one's their Blanco. It's probably my favorite tequila on the market right now. It's distilled in Los Altos de Jalisco, Mexico, and it was founded by Eduardo Gonzalez, who earned his nickname, which is Lalo, from his grandfather, Don Julio Gonzalez. Does that sound familiar, Patrick? Don Julio?
Yes, it does sound familiar.
Yeah, because he is the founder of the famed Don Julio tequila. He eventually ventured out, and this is Eduardo, ventured out to his own and started his own brand, which he wanted to embody the purest form of a Blanco tequila, which is where Lalo comes in. Blanco tequila is required to be made from blue agave, and 100% of this tequila is pure blue agave with no additives. Their plants are grown for 8 years before they're roasted in traditional brick ovens and pressed by rollers to extract the product. Lalo's more traditional methods also ensure more character and authenticity into their product. You can enjoy it neat. You can enjoy it on the rocks if you're one of those people who likes to sip tequila, out of a glass straight up. I'm not one of those guys. It's never been my thing, but maybe I'll get into it one of these days. But it's also absolutely perfect for your favorite margarita recipe. I have a fantastic margarita recipe. If anybody wants to enjoy that this weekend, hit me up on Twitter and I'll send it your way. At the end of the day, though, it's a smooth tequila that doesn't contain any of the typical bitterness or unpleasant tastes, that come with the more commercial brands like Jose Cuervo or those, that slop that you get at the bar, that the well tequila or anything like that. But it's 80 proof. You can get it for about $50 at any liquor store. It's widely available. And, for me, it's an 8 out of 10. I'm not a tequila expert like I am with bourbon, but it doesn't get much better than Lalo. If you're looking for a good solid tequila that's not going to break the bank for you, I love it, and I think you should go get a bottle. I'm going to be drinking a lot of it this weekend.
Very good. Very good. Drinking some tequila this weekend. I'm sure I'll enjoy a few tequilas. I can't tell you the best tequila to drink because I drink cheaper stuff because I drink a lot. And if you drink a lot, you drink cheaper stuff so you can afford it. I will tell you musically, the most underrated, best Cinco de Mayo song is a song called Cinco de Mayo by War. So if you've never heard this song, make sure to put that on your Cinco de Mayo playlist. It jams. It'll get the whole party feeling good for Cinco de Mayo. So that's free one for you. Rodney says you can't fight it right now. The best tequila is, that feels like you've spelled the word twice to me. You want to try and pronounce that one?
I don't. Abedondo, Adenando, I don't know. I'll have to check it out.
Too many. That's like, there's an old comedy special. If you've never seen it, it's one of the best comedy specials ever with Patrice O'Neill called Elephant in the Room. And he's talking about spelling and the words that are hard and spelling banana. And he's just like B-A-N-A and N-A. It's like, forget how many there are in there.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I'm going to butcher it. But if anybody wants I appreciate your Cinco de Mayo song shout. I'm going to give my own too because I'm more of a country music guy.
Okay,
I like everything, but if you're looking for a little like country pool music for your Cinco de Mayo, I would go with "Blame It on Mexico" by George Strait or "Corona con Lima" by Gary P. Nunn. Both absolute classic Mexican drinking songs.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, and I'll still give a shout out. We'll talk music since we talk music for a second. My buddies in Vallejo are playing Buck's Backyard on Saturday. If you want a good Latin rock show, you can go check out the guys Saturday out at Buck's Backyard. They'll be playing out there with Nakia. He's also really talented. Fun times. They always play for Cinco de Mayo. Let's get back into some sports, though. How about we go back into it, Matt? And we were talking yesterday about some of our predictions for the NFL, and we got through the AFC. I didn't want to rush through the NFC, so we have postponed those to today to make our predictions of who we thought would win the divisions in the NFC, who we have being able to take home those crowns. We'll also go into our rookies of the year as well. Just some very early predictions now that our teams are starting to take a little bit more form. So we just kind of went down the divisions yesterday, talked through them, and get who we think is going to win them. And so let's do that again. Let's start out in the NFC East. That is the Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants. We know that division very well, and the Eagles have been running roughshod. The Commanders had a 12-win season last year. They have added Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil, added some pieces in to make this team feel even better. This is a Commanders team that is going to try and make waves. Now we know the Texans with C.J. Stroud had a really good rookie season, a little bit of a setback in year 2, but they still won their division. The problem for the Commanders is the Eagles are in this division, so that's going to be a tough hill to overcome. But could the Commanders improve? Do they go back down? We also have the question about the Cowboys. Do the Cowboys, they had Dak Prescott injured for most of the season. They should be a better team this year, but who really knows if they will or they will not be? So I'll throw it to you. Who wins the NFC East?
Okay. So normally I would pick the Eagles, right?
Yes.
It would make sense to pick the defending Super Bowl champion and the best team in football. The problem that I have, and I'm being a little historically biased here, is there hasn't been a back-to-back NFC East champion since 2004.
Yeah.
So the last time that happened, the Eagles had won it 4 years in a row. Their fourth was in 2004. And since then, there has not been a two-time winner back-to-back going all the way up to last year. The Cowboys won it 2 years ago. The Eagles won it last year. So just for the sake of that, and thinking that trend is probably going to continue just because it's been 2 decades of that, I'm going to go with the Commanders.
Okay, so you got the Commanders getting the additions. Jaden Daniels continues to play at a really high level. Dan Quinn in his second year gets going. I like that. The Eagles do have the problem of they're replacing another coordinator with Kellen Moore moving on after the season, but I believe Vic Fangio is staying, so that defense should still be really, really good, like they played last season. Cowboys, not a ton of faith right now in this Cowboys team. I'm going to say the Eagles break the trend. We saw the Packers take a wide receiver after 20 some odd years, so maybe we'll see someone repeat as division champs. The Eagles feel like they haven't really lost anything going into this season. Before, you lose both coordinators, that's a little bit tougher. You have some holes you have to fill, that's a little bit tougher. This doesn't feel like they're really losing much. They're coming back. If they can stay healthy, that's kind of the caveat for everything we pick, isn't it? If they can stay healthy, they feel like the team to beat right now in the NFC overall, much less the NFC East. Then we go over to the NFC North. The NFC North, Detroit won by the Detroit Lions last year, 15-2, followed right back up by the Vikings at 14-3. The Packers had 11 wins as well, and the Bears with 5 wins. The Bears now trying to add on some pieces to help out Caleb Williams, a second-year quarterback, a new head coach in Ben Johnson coming from one of those rival teams. Is he going to be able to get this this Chicago team moving, getting Caleb Williams to play at a higher level, get them to be able to move the ball? Romeo Odunze also going to be in his second season. Are they going to be able to, really take this to another level? That's a big what if, because we don't know what Caleb Williams is. The crowd is still very much split on what Caleb Williams is. The Packers now got their wide receiver number 1 in Matthew Golden. That team is continuing. They have some issues with their safety. They'll see if their cornerback and safety room will be fully set by the time we get into week 1. The Vikings going on to J.J. McCarthy and that giant question mark after a really good year last year, but won a lot of close games. So is this a team that maybe looked better than they were last year with Sam Darnold, or are they the real deal? Can Brian Flores keep pulling and confusing other teams' offenses with his defense? And the Lions, this is your big question mark, lost both coordinators. So is Jared Goff the same guy with a new coach, with a new offensive coordinator, a new play caller? Is this a new is this defense going to step up to the next level? Aiden Hutchinson, how many games is he going to be able to play next season after having his leg shattered last year? There's definitely a lot of question marks around this Lions team going in. Who do you have the NFC North taking?
I think this is not only the best division in football, I think it's the most wide open division in football. I suppose you can make an argument for, maybe the AFC West or something like that. But for my money, this is the toughest division in football. So it's going to be really hard for any of these teams to kind of be a clear favorite. But I'm going to kind of break it down by team here. I'm picking the Packers.
Okay.
Because I think Jordan Love's going to take a step forward. And I think Matthew Golden's going to be kind of the key to unlocking that entire offense. And I think their defense is going to be okay at the end of the day, good enough to win the division. I don't think the Lions are going to win it because of the coordinator issue. I think that, if you lose one coordinator, that's one thing. But if you lose both, that's really, really tough. A tough thing to kind of restructure and do and find guys that fit you, the players that you already have in your roster. So that's why they're out for me. The Bears, I just think aren't quite there yet. I think they're going to be a good team. But I just don't think that they're quite there yet to the level of these other teams with the Packers and the Lions there. And I think the Vikings are going to finish last in the division because I think J.J. McCarthy is an awful quarterback. And I think that you're right. Last year, they won a lot of close games, and their record said that they were better than they actually were. And I think they got exposed later in the year for that when they were playing the Lions for the division. So I'm going Packers. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be neck and neck with the Lions, but I got the Packers coming out at the end.
I love that you the hatred for J.J. McCarthy there. I think J.J. McCarthy will be okay. I don't know. I
he's going to suck.
I can't say he's bad because he just didn't do much. So
he wasn't a good quarterback in college.
But that's what I'm saying. He didn't do anything in college. So he wasn't bad in college. He just didn't do anything. Like, the offense didn't require him to do a lot. So he wasn't necessarily bad. He just wasn't used. So I don't know what he's going to be in the pros. He may be amazing. We just never seen him throw the ball really. They just handed it off and threw little screens and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe he's amazing.
I think it's going to be one way or the other. I think he's either going to be the next Tom Brady or the next Jamarcus Russell.
Okay. All right. I like that. I also have the Packers because I do think replacing two coordinators is going to set you back a little bit, especially with a quarterback like Jared Goff. We know what Jared Goff has done at points in his career. I think he's a good quarterback, but he really needs help to be coddled. Maybe now as he gets older, he's starting to figure it out more. But I think, the coordinator relationship is going to be big. It's just going to take a little time to build that up on the fly. So that's where I think that there could be a little problem. Aiden Hutchinson as well. Like, that dude is just a disturber. Even if he's not touching even if he's not within 3 or 4 feet of the quarterback, he is still creating havoc by taking 2 or 3 guys with him on his journey to the quarterback. So to not have him necessarily be healthy and fully back next season, that's going to be a question as well as they try and build up. So I'm just going to say, and I agree. I think the Vikings will still be good, but I think this Packers team could take a really big step this year.
Yeah, the Aiden Hutchinson thing is very unfortunate because he's like there's only a couple of players in the NFL who are absolute game changers from the edge, and he's 100% one of them. I still think that they're going to be very good. It's just for and look, you saw how different it was down the stretch for them defensively when he wasn't in the game, but I still think they're going to be very good because Dan Campbell's culture that he's built there is unlike anything that we've seen across the league in the last few years. I think that there is not a team in the NFL who plays harder for their head coach than the Lions play for Dan Campbell. So that could be their edge and their, kind of their wild card that sneaks them through. But I really think this Packers team is on the verge of exploding, man. They're just right there. And I think Matthew Golden might be the ticket.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Let's go over to the NFC South. The Buccaneers, the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Saints. This division is hard to call because none of them should be winning. None of them should be division winners. Doesn't feel like there's a division winner in here. The Bucs won it last year at 10-7. They play decent football down the stretch. They do what they need to get done, right? They're able to go 10-7 and get it done. Baker Mayfield does enough. There is, the classic game against the Chiefs that they come out on the short end of the stick. There were several games like that. They just came out a little bit short. There was some they were able to come out on top of. But this is a division that the Buccaneers are going to be there. They'll be around a 500 team. I don't think they'll be much better but they'll be around a 500 team. They've got all the wide receivers in the world. They can go out there and play. So they'll have plenty of options where to throw the ball. Then we go to the Falcons, who have now added 2 edge rushers. Maybe that's able to make a difference, but we have no clue about their quarterback position. We know they have 2 good running backs in Bijan Robinson, and then Tyler Algiers is a really good backup who can do some things for you. But at the end of the day, I don't know if that's enough. Penix is going to have to take a huge step forward this year for that team to feel like they can compete for a division win. The Panthers are taking steps forward, but we're just so bad that it feels like they're not going to be able to do this in a couple seasons. They're going to have to keep adding more and more pieces. Bryce Young, again, took a step forward at the end of last season. Can he not only continue that, but then over the offseason take a much bigger step forward? Offensive line protect, get some weapons out there starting to move the ball. Then you start to feel a little bit better, at least about this offense. And then as the defense starts to build there. And then the Saints, Kellen Moore, I've never been a huge fan of from the beginning. And this is not really, you've got Tyler Shuck coming in, Spencer Rattler, and Derek Carr, who's apparently pissed off that everybody thinks he's not going to play, maybe because it's wishful thinking on all of us that we think that he's not going to be a quarterback anymore in the NFL. I don't have any problem with Derek Carr. It just he was never good enough to really get over the hump, but he's been a starter for so long. And you're like, it feels like there's that weird part of being a starting quarterback without being a franchise quarterback, and he was like on the cusp for a while, and that made it so he's still a starter, and he probably should have been somewhat washed out of the league a few years ago and to the backup role, and he's still running there in the Saints. It just feels like they're not headed the right direction and may not be trying to. They may be fully okay, tanking the second half of this season. So I'll go in. I think the Falcons do win it. I think they'll find a way to put it together enough to get to 9-10 wins with a more improved defense. But I still think this is a division that is decided at the end of the year by who's just sucked the most.
Yeah, I mean, look, the bottom line is none of these teams are very good. The Bucks are probably win. I think the Bucks probably win it by default just because they're the only team that has like an established quarterback. I don't think Baker Mayfield's like all that good, but he's the best quarterback in the division.
Yeah.
I think the Panthers will probably finish second, honestly. Just
okay.
I guess I'll have the Falcons second just because of Bijan. Like
the Falcons
if the Falcons can, they do. If they can figure out their quarterback situation, they can win the division. It just is entirely dependent on Michael Penix Jr., and I'm not very confident about that. I do think that Bijan could be in the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year because I think they're going to rely on him so heavily. But I just think the Bucks, the Bucks are probably going to have the most explosive offense in the division. Their defense is okay. They have Baker Mayfield, who's probably the best quarterback. So I'm going to go with them by default, but I really don't feel good about it. It could be them or the Falcons. I don't think the Panthers are there yet, like you said, and the Saints are a dumpster fire. So it'll be one of those two.
All right, last division here, the NFC West. The Rams win it last year, tying with the Seahawks at 10-7. Cardinals come in at 8-9, and the 49ers at 6-11. Not exactly how we saw that one panning out. We know that the 49ers look to bounce back this season. There were some injuries. There were some different extenuating circumstances where everything fell apart. Christian McCaffrey should be back and healthy this season. They should have some pieces going. Brandon Ayuk still there. They got rid of Debo, but they're going to try and get him figured out. And what's his name? The kid, the guy they drafted last year is the one that's going to be trying to replace Debo Samuel now. George Kittle. Yes, Ricky Pearsall. And then George Kittle is going to be back out there. You try and figure it out. I think they're getting close to a contract with Brock Purdy as well. They're saying that's going to be around $50 million a year, which, again, it's that weird world of understanding how the economy works and how a free market works and saying he's not worth $50 million in any other form or format, but there's just who else are you going to get? And if you don't pay him, you have to go back into that crapshoot and hope you get a draft pick good enough to get him. Now, if they would have had a year as bad as they did this year, next year, and they would know we'll be like a 5-6 win team next year, okay, we'll take our chances in that draft because we think there's going to be some quarterbacks. We'll go back into that one and feel okay. But I think you just don't have that thought. Cardinals looking like they are going to be a somewhat better team again this year. They're trying to get better. If Kyler Murray stays healthy, Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't the impact they thought he would be last year, maybe more this year, but he had a lot of contract stuff and everything coming in as a rookie, maybe too much noise. Maybe he'll figure that out a little bit better in his sophomore year. The Seahawks now add Sam Darnold instead of Geno Smith. I don't know if that's an upgrade or not. They have a lot of different pieces. No more DK Metcalf, but Cooper Kupp is there. It's just going to look like such a wildly different Seahawks team. So it's hard to compare them to last year's team at all. And then the Rams, it's Sean McVay, Matt Stafford. He stays healthy. Another big if. If he stays healthy, that team becomes elevated for sure. Who do you have winning this division?
I think that this division is built for the Rams to win it. Yeah. I think they made some great moves this offseason with Devontae Adams. I think he's an upgrade over Cooper Kupp. I love Cooper Kupp, but he's just not the same player he used to be anymore. Matthew Stafford's the best quarterback in the division by far. Kyron Williams is a super productive running back. They have a really good defense, a great defensive line. They got a couple good tight ends. They're going to be the team to beat in that division for sure. I have them winning it going away, actually. I don't think the Niners are going to be quite there yet. They just replaced way too many things on their defense. The Cardinals are getting better. They're not there yet. I still think they have a couple pieces to add. And I just don't know what to make of the Seahawks because they're, like you said, they're such a wildly different team. I don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be Minnesota Sam Darnold from last year or New York Jets Sam Darnold or Carolina Panthers Sam Darnold or what Sam Darnold he's going to be. But, Cooper Kupp is not exactly an upgrade over DK Metcalf, in my opinion.
No, not an aging Cooper Kupp, no.
No, they've got Jackson Smith and Jigga, which is fine. They've got some good running backs. They have a good secondary, but
TJ Hawkinson there, tight end, right?
Yeah, I believe so. So I think the Rams are going to run away with this one, honestly.
I don't think they'll run away with it, but I think they win it. I think they're probably an 11-12 win team, and that's plenty enough to win this division. I'm with you that the Rams feel like they should be able to handle this. This is a division of teams somewhat in flux. Now, the 49ers are the wild card here because this is a 49ers team that for years was running that division. And it was kind of them and the Rams up top. The 49ers completely fell off. Maybe the 49ers turn it around. Kyle Shanahan's able to get him back. If Christian McCaffrey is able to be the same guy, that's a huge, huge if. Because right now you're saying this division hinges on what Christian McCaffrey, which is geriatric for a running back now at 30-something years old. I have to look up how old Christian McCaffrey is. And then Matthew Stafford, who is becoming geriatric for a running back or for a quarterback. Christian McCaffrey's 28, so he's at the point where he's not geriatric, but he's old for a running back. And he has had the injuries, and the mileage is up there. So if 28-year-old Christian McCaffrey can still do it, and a 37-year-old Matt Stafford, that's really where this division lies, is those two guys. Are they able to come in and play at a high enough level and stay on the field? And if they do, then this is a race between those two teams. But whoever falters, it feels like the other one takes it. And right now the Rams feel like the front runner to take it.
Yeah, I feel a lot better about Matthew Stafford staying healthy than I do Christian McCaffrey staying healthy. So that's why I give the Rams the edge here. Also, I know I'm a Matthew Stafford homer. That's well documented both on this show and through my friends and family. He's my favorite player in the NFL. And I think he's at 37 years old, he's still an elite quarterback. He can still, he might not be able to throw it 90 yards in the air anymore, but he can throw it about 80. And he can still put plenty of zip on the ball. He's super smart. He's got probably the best group of receivers that he's had since the 2021 Super Bowl. And, Sean McVay is an absolute mastermind. So I think that I think that they're going to be in the NFC Championship next year. That's how good I think they're going to be.
That's the question because he just hasn't been able to stay on the field healthy for a season for a while. And that's, they've had some other issues, and then the wide receivers have been beat up. And so they just haven't been able to put together a healthy season. If they do that, then Matt Stafford has still got it in him to go do it. He just got to be able to stay on the field with the wide receivers where they just haven't. Like, they were good last year at the end of the season when they all got back in. It was just a little too late at that point. They still won the division, but you were able to really get rolling like they needed to get. Finally, some predictions. Let's just hit the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year. Hit these predictions real quick. Who do you have? I have the odds up as well of the best odds to win these. Who do you have for the offensive rookie of the year, Matt?
Well, can we run through the odds first?
The odds are Ashton Janty as your leader at plus 250, plus 300 is Cam Ward. Then we get into plus 600 for Travis Hunter, plus 1,300 for Tet McMillan. That goes down somewhat. I'm just going up at MG. Like, that's the first number I'm seeing. He's also plus 1,000, plus 850 to place. Amarian Hampton's about plus 1,400. Then we get to like plus 2,000 for Matthew Golden. Shedeur Sanders is in there, ranging between plus 1,500 and plus 2,500. So Tyler Shuck's in there. Jackson Dart's in there. You can bet on Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers is plus 15,000.
You know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna put $1 on Quinn.
Hey, it's not bad. He's plus 15,000 odds, so you'd win a few bucks if Quinn wins Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I think it's a runaway for Ashton Genty. I think that's just such a good situation for him. He's going to come in there and be the focal point of the offense from day one. I think that you'd be. I don't know that you'd necessarily be foolish to bet on anyone else, but if he stays healthy and he's as effective as people are expecting him to be, I think he runs away with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at as well. I have Ashton Janty as well, and the reason is I don't think Cam Ward wins enough games as the quarterback to be it. In Tennessee, I just don't think they have enough pieces, and the defense is just kind of built weird. So I don't know what they're going to be able to do there. The wide receiver situation just doesn't feel like they're going to win a lot of games, and that's going to kind of cost him. The other one that's interesting is Travis Hunter, but because they have Brian Thomas, if they didn't have Brian Thomas, I'd give it to Travis Hunter actually. But because they have another really, really good wide receiver there, it makes me think like, okay, he's going to share carries with those two guys. And so he may, I feel like he's probably going to miss a couple games. I know he doesn't want to hear that, but he's probably going to miss a couple games trying to play both ways, may get, beat up a little bit and miss a couple games. But like after that, you go into Amarian Hampton actually is a decent shout. Because of what the Chargers do. But again, they have Najee Harris, so he may not get the full carries his rookie season. Tet McMillan, I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it in his, there's just some guys that I'm not sure are going to be able to be full on their rookie season. And it feels like Ashton Janty is going to come in running, and the Raiders don't have a lot of other options. So we're going to hand the ball off. You're going to be the central point of our offense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would love it for it to be Matthew Golden being the clear number one in Green Bay. I think he probably has a really good chance to finish second in that race, but I think it's just very clear that it's going to be Ashton Genty all the way.
All right. Your defensive rookie of the year. We'll look at some odds real quick there. Abdul Carter is your front runner there at plus 250. And then it gets into a little even, about 750, plus 750 for both Jalen Walker and Travis Hunter. On that one, Mason Graham is there at plus 15. Shamar Stewart is at plus 16. McCall Williams is about plus 1,000, so he's a little bit better. Will Johnson plus 2,500, plus 1,400 for Jahad Campbell. Jahdae Barron is at plus 2,200. Mike Green plus 1,200. Some different odds through here. Let's see. Do we see anybody else we want to mention? We start to get in the bigger odds. Alfred Collins plus 6,000. He's in there.
Well, to be a contrarian, I'm not going to go with Abdul Carter just because I don't want to go with the favorite for both. I think that's boring.
Yes.
So I'm going to go with Jahdae Barron because I think he's in the perfect situation in Denver. I think that people already hate throwing at Patrick Surtain. So they're going to throw a lot Jahdae's way, and he's going to have a lot of opportunities to get interceptions and make a big name for himself. So I'm going to go with Jahdae. All
right, pretty good odds there, plus 2,200. You can make a little bit of money. Just put down, put down 15, 20 grand on it. You'll make plenty of money back. I'm going to go Jalen Walker on this. I think he's going to have the opportunity to feed, and he's going to have to. They're going to have to try and rush the like. This is just they have to at this point. There's no way you can't. You spent too much draft capital to get these two guys, and every time you're going to have to send them. And so I think that he's just eventually going to have to be that guy. And I think that this is a run where Travis Hunter, again, I think is going to start as a wide receiver more and maybe work into it. So he may not be that guy, but I think that Jalen Walker is going to be that guy.
Yeah, it's Jalen Walker has a great shot. He'd probably be my other pick if I had to pick between the two of them. Mason Graham, I don't think has a chance just because he plays a position that doesn't, get those kinds of awards typically. So
no, and you're playing alongside Myles Garrett. Like Myles Garrett's going to take some of those sacks away.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones where you got to be pushing through, he's going to take some of them, and that's why I just don't have him on there. Shamar Stewart, we've talked about. I don't know if he's ready to win his rookie season. I don't know if that's an award for him. He may have a long, good career, but I don't know if he's going to get his rookie season.
Yeah, Walter Nolan might have a chance, but again, he's a defensive tackle, so I think that's really hard. He doesn't have to deal with the same thing that Mason Graham has, where he has an all-world edge rusher who's going to take away a bunch of sacks. So, I think he'll have a better shot than Mason Graham potentially, even though the odds might not say that. But there's really only a couple of guys in each of these awards that I think actually have a legitimate chance to win it, just based on the makeups of the teams that are there already.
Yeah, Walter Nolan's all over the place on his odds. He's got one is plus 2,500, another casino's plus 1,600, another one's plus 4,000. So he's all over the place of what people think, but he's on there. You can go put some money down on Walter Nolan as well. All those guys, but I appreciate that's a good run there of some of the rookie of the years. It does feel like it's, if you revisit this week 2, maybe you have some different opinions, but right now it just feels like those guys at the top have the best situations around to go. Vegas knows what they're doing. Let's say that. There's a reason. Like, I think a Mike Green is an interesting shout there as well. He's a guy that I think had 17 sacks at Marshall last year, but it's Marshall. So you're like, is Mike Green really going to be able to step into this role and go and get the sacks at the same rate? But he is a sack machine, or at least was last year. So that's another one that's a kind of interesting shout. He's another one of those guys that was a character issue guy. But, you end up on the Ravens. Who knows? If you favor off of being the rookie and them trying to, stop other guys, maybe go in there and get some big plays and see what you can do on that Ravens team. So I think that's kind of a shout of, if he can adapt to a much, much, much higher level of play in a short amount of time, then he'll be the guy. But lots to go into there. Let's kick it around. And I want to get into something else. We'll stay with the NFL, and I want to talk to you about some bold predictions, Matt. Okay. Some bold predictions here in the NFL. And I threw this to you as something that as somewhat of an exercise that I enjoy doing on my own, and I think I'm hoping you got a little bold moves you would make if you were to take over the Cowboys and you could make some bold moves, or if you took over the Texans and could make some bold moves. What 3 moves would you make? And it was somewhat difficult because some of these things I was like, well, that doesn't really make sense. And that's, you're giving up too much for this or that. And, this is kind of a pipe dream. That trade would never go through. So what do you got to give up for it? So I tried to keep mine somewhat in the world of reason. And I think they are. Now, cap-wise, you'd have to do some cap magic on some of these too. But I'll say you can do cap magic. So I'll put it on that. So we'll start with the Cowboys. And if you had a bold move you could do if you were running the Cowboys, what's the first bold move you'd make, Matt?
I would, I would probably find a way to trade Deron Bland.
Okay. All right.
I think that's my first one.
So that is part of my first one. That is part of it. My first one is make a trade package for Mike Evans with the Buccaneers, who now just drafted Igbuka. They've got another wide receiver. You've still got Chris Godwin over there. They were looking at getting rid of Mike Evans a year or so ago. He's a Texas kid. I know he's more in the Houston area, but he's a Texas kid. Played at Texas A&M. You bring him over. He gives you that big target, but he's not a long-term commitment for you either. And that is where you make a deal for either Diggs or Bland. So if you can make a deal for Diggs, then you pay Deron Bland at the end of the season, or you pay Deron Bland before then if you're smart, but you pay Deron Bland so you can say, we're going to keep either Diggs or Bland, one or the other. So which one do the Buccaneers want? Now, if you trade off Diggs, it makes it a little bit easier because now the cap-wise, again, you have to figure out. But either one of those, give them a cornerback. The Bucs need more help in the secondary. Give them one of those guys. Put together a package. Now, if you send Deron Bland, it's because he's on the last year of his contract. He loses a little bit of value. Maybe you get Mike Evans in a pick back or wherever that goes, wherever the value of those two guys go. But I like Mike Evans on this Cowboys team of giving you a big target that you can throw the ball to and give you a real second wide receiver.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. I tried to avoid putting other teams in it necessarily in terms of like player for player trade, just because I don't know if the cap numbers would work because I'm not as familiar with NFL cap numbers as I am with NBA cap numbers. But I would freaking love that, Patrick. That would be a dream come true for me.
Well, and because the whole deal with the NFL cap that's different is you can restructure NFL deals. In the NBA, you're stuck with what that number is. So the numbers have to match a certain amount, everything else. In the NFL, you can get a guy in and then restructure his deal or restructure someone else's deal, and you can basically pay them cash, and it knocks down the cap hit. There's all these there's ways to make money. Like, that's how the Eagles thrive, is they can continually pay cash for things. So Jerry would have to pay some cash, but I love the idea of Mike Evans being on this team.
I love it too. And I'm not going to put another player in for my second bold prediction from the Cowboys, but I think that they need to either trade for Brandon Ayuk or Tyreek Hill. I think they need to they need to go and they need to find an elite wide receiver. I don't think George Pickens is the answer, but I think they need to go find an elite wide receiver to add to this team that's not an aging, washed out old veteran who can't run anymore like Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen. They need to go find an explosive playmaker. I think Tyreek Hill is probably the more realistic of those two scenarios just because of the situation that he's in Miami, where it's like kind of uncertain. I know things aren't like exactly clear for Brandon Ayuk necessarily, but that's one of those two guys I think would be a home run for them.
Yeah, I get, like, the Tyreek Hill one's interesting because, they're trying to figure things out in Miami, and they'd love to have Tyreek Hill, but, his salary is just getting more and more, and his cap hit is getting more and more as time goes on. Like, you look at his 2025 number is $27 million cap hit. His number right now for 2026 is $52 million actually. So that he has to have a new contract basically done to be able to keep him long term, or you let him go. He's 31 years old, just like Mike Evans is. So for a speedster, you're getting on the back end of it. But if you're willing to talk to him and work something out where you say, well, okay, we're going to give you a contract extension when you get here, which we know Jerry doesn't do, but we're being bold moves. So we would give Tyreek that contract extension and say, we're bringing you in. We're giving you, 2 more guaranteed years and a third year that's not guaranteed again. So we'll give you a couple more years here with Tyreek Hill. I like that. Brandon Ayuk's already got his contract, so that's a little different situation. You know what you're bringing in that world. But yeah, both of those are good players. It's all about what you're looking for in that other position for the Cowboys. But you got to get a wide receiver. I think we're both on board with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a second one, or you want me to go with my third?
My second one, and this one is not great, but because I kind of was looking for players similar to this, and they're just not really obtainable. So I'm going to say this player, and then finding somebody like him or getting him to help train your players a little bit more. But I say bring in Jamal Adams for certain situations as a safety. I don't want to kill you with that one, but bringing in Jamal Adams as basically a safety to help your run game, because now you feel like you have Ozzie Odigizua, you have some other guys on the line. Your run game's going to be your run game's still going to have issues. So if we're not going to have a run game with our line being able to stop guys, then maybe get some safeties that are a little bit better at run stopping. Jamal Adams is going to hurt you in the pass game, but you can put him in certain situations and use him as a run stopper. And I think that could help you out some. I'd like to get a Jamal Adams type, but I just put Jamal Adams because I couldn't think of the right guy to go find, and he's available.
Yeah, I don't even. Who's Jamal Adams even play for these days?
Nobody. He's a free agent right now. He played for the Titans last year, requested his release, and then ended up on, I can't remember the team. He ended up on somebody else's team and then didn't stay on them, and now he's a free agent.
Yeah. Okay. So my other one, I don't hate that, Patrick.
Yeah, he's a little bit washed, so it's a little rushed. But you're like, if you get him for the right price and you only use him in certain situations, I think it's possible. But I like the Jamal Adams type, of getting that type of safety in that can really stop the run. Like Jalen Petrie does it really good for for the Texans. And so you're like somebody in that safety room who can come in, and maybe it's a nickel, maybe it's something like that, but get a run stopper that you feel really good about in that secondary.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good shout. They definitely need to figure out something in that safety room, because I don't think Donovan Wilson's going to be anything special. And then you got, the other safety there is nothing crazy either. So they need safety help. So that's a good shout. I was kind of waffling between my third one between two different scenarios. So, I'm not really sure. My first idea was trade Micah Parsons.
Okay.
And just get a whole boatload of draft capital back in exchange for him. Couple first round picks if you can, whatever you can do. Ship him off. You got Donovan Ezeriku, or Ezeraku, however you pronounce it, to be your future edge rusher. You take a hit in the short term, but in the long term, you're better off because you got more draft capital, and you can build your team.
As Hair the Dog pointed out, the Cowboys over under this year is 7.5. So even with Micah, you're not projected to be great.
Right. The other one I have is, you know what? Let's stick with Micah. I don't like the other one. Let's stick with Micah.
Right.
Let's stick with trade Micah Parsons.
All right. So trade Micah Parsons, try and get a bunch of picks, try and rebuild a little bit through adding players. I thought about that one. I keep not wanting to do it because it feels very un-Cowboys like. And while I think it could work, then it goes into, how are you going to rebuild this team, and what are you going to take? And it just feels like we're going to get 7 first-round picks, and they're all going to be offensive linemen. So I don't want to, it's like, I like the theory of it. In theory, I like the options it gives you, and kind of saying this is a rebuild, and maybe pushing some, trying to get the draft picks to say, we may be moving on from Dak Prescott here in a year or two. And so we're really trying to aim for 2027, 2028 to be loaded with a new quarterback, and then just attack, and then be a team that really can really go for it. I think Jerry's at the age where he is not looking at 2027, 2028. I think he is looking at those as maybe angel years. So he is going to say, I don't want to plan for that far in the future. So I don't know what we'll see, but I like that one. My last one's pretty easy. It's trade for Mark Andrews. We know that he's been somewhat listed as available. The Baltimore Ravens are on or off about getting him in, but he gives you a veteran present at tight end that I think would just be way better than Ferguson. He's not a great player anymore. He's a little bit older. A lot of the guys I'm talking about are bringing in veterans because they're not long-term investments. You're not talking about giving up first, second round picks to go get a guy that you're probably not going to keep long-term. These are about little fixes to try and pick your team up a little bit. That if you have Mike Evans and Mark Andrews on this team next season, your offense looks immensely better than it does right now. And you're not going to have to give up a ton to go get them. You're going to have to give up a DB that you're not going to keep anyway. And you're going to have to give up probably a 4th or 5th round draft pick to go get Mark Andrews. And that's not a ton. And I mean, you might be able to, if you give up Deron Bland or Trayvon Diggs and Mike Evans trade, depending on where they value it and how you work it, you may be able to get a pick back in that trade as well. So I think you could do those realistically and make your team be way, way better this season. Now, is that a team that can compete with the Eagles? That depends on what Shoddy can do. Brian Schottenheimer can make this team work. If this defense can get going, then maybe. Because you still have Micah Parsons. You still have your other cornerback, whichever it'll be that you keep. You still have some good young players on there, but your offense just looks way, way better than it did going into it. I think with yours as well. Yours as well, though, is not necessarily we're going to try and compete this year. It's let's move it on down the line a little bit. We're going to go out and get a wide. I don't think necessarily all 3 years work together, because I don't think you trade for Brandon Ayuk and get rid of Micah Parsons. But you could also say in that we're going to shift our money to the offense, and we're going to try and really go offense heavy here, because right now they got money on both sides of the ball, and a lot of teams spend a ton of money on one side and kind of figure it out on the other. And the Cowboys are going to have their 3 biggest, or probably 4 biggest paid players, 2 on each side of the ball, which is great for, everybody saying kumbaya, but maybe doesn't work for either side of the ball being explosive.
Yeah, no, I love this idea. One of the things that I would have been really okay with the Cowboys doing at their number 12 pick was picking a tight end, because I think this offense desperately needs one. They didn't address it at all in the NFL draft. So, and I've been well documented on this show saying I think Jake Ferguson is not the answer either. So I would very much like for them to go out and get some kind of veteran presence at tight end. Mark Andrews is still one of the best tight ends in football for my money. I know he had that horrible drop in the playoffs last year, but I still think he's a really good player. That would be an awesome fit for Dallas. It really would. And that's honestly, we're kind of sneaking into one of my Texans bold predictions there, but I love that idea.
All right, let's go to the Texans. Let's go and get some of those guys. I'll tell you, I'll start off on these and we'll let you go second on these. I'll start off. My first one is go get Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton's been on the trade block for 2 years. The asking price can't be too high. He'll fit in the slot for you, but gives you a presence that with 2 young wide receivers now, I like both those guys. I don't know if I trust either one of them. They're not in my circle of trust at wide receiver yet for the Texans. So I think adding in a veteran like Courtland Sutton takes you to another level on your offense where now you can kind of use some guys in different positions, but it gives you a little bit more stability in that wide receiver room.
I like that idea. I do think they need to add some sort of other weapon to this offense. Wide receiver is certainly a place they could do it. I don't know that both of these I think that Higgins will be ready to go from day one and be able to be a factor on the offense. Yes. I think it might take Jalen Noel a little bit more time just because the slot's a little bit more complicated. But he'll eventually be a good player. I do think they should go out and get somebody else that they can add to give CJ Stroud as many weapons as they could possibly give him next season.
Yeah, exactly.
My first one was trade for a tight end. I don't think Dalton Schultz is the answer. I didn't have necessarily a specific tight end in mind like Mark Andrews, but I think that's a really good idea for the Texans as well. There's probably plenty of guys they could go out and get that are going to be better than Dalton Schultz. You need to have a reliable tight end if you're going to be a successful team with a really good quarterback. It's a necessity for these Super Bowl teams. They just got to do it, man. They got to find a way to go get an upgrade at that position. It's bad.
And that's the whole thing. The position of tight end for the Texans is frustrating as a Texans fan, as someone who watches all the Texans games, that you watch Dalton Schultz just not try on some things, not really be there and, cost you some third downs, cost you stuff throughout the game. And then there will be a point where he comes and plays like Dalton Schultz, like the guy that you thought you had. And he'll make some big catches and he'll make some big plays or a big block. And all of a sudden, but he just doesn't feel like he plays the entirety of the game. It doesn't feel like he gives you 100% all of the time. And so it becomes extremely frustrating watching Dalton Schultz play. And so, I get why they haven't moved on from him, because it is, you say, well, the step down is not somebody else. I think Brevin Jordan coming back, use Brevin Jordan a little bit more. He's been used in, can be explosive in places where Schultz may not be explosive. Because the whole point about Dalton Schultz is he's supposed to be a security blanket, but he's not. And so he tries to make explosive plays, but he's not really that guy. And you're like, I just need you to be sure-handed. I just need you to go out and make some big catches for us. So I'm with you 100%. I just didn't see, when I was trying to look around for tight ends, I didn't necessarily see the place. And the problem is you're paying Dalton Schultz a decent amount of money too, which means you have to move off of him if you get somebody else. But no one else is going to do a 1-for-1 trade with Dalton Schultz. And so it's like, well, we're giving you a pick and Dalton Schultz for your guy. It just becomes difficult to do. I think they're stuck with that for another year. I'm with you, though. The upgraded tight end position, I would love to see. I just didn't see any way to make it work. When I was trying to make it work and trying to put stuff around, I just didn't see the way to do it. But I do appreciate it because I'm fully on board. Dalton Schultz drives me nuts every Sunday.
Yeah, it's just such a critical position, especially for a young quarterback. Maybe they can find a way to make Dalton Schultz do something different this year. I just, eventually they got to find a solution to that position because it's just not working right now.
All right, my number 2 is go sign the best running back that's still on the board, J.K. Dobbins. I know the Chargers put out a tag or whatever unrestricted free agent thing that basically if he's not signed by the end, they basically pick him back up. It's like that's how the tag works, is he makes like $3.5 million to come back for them if he doesn't sign another deal. But I think you need to add a running back who's ready to go this season. I don't know if that's Woody Marks. I don't think it's Dameon Pierce, and maybe it will be. But it feels like if you could add another back that J.K. Dobbins is, we know he can still do some things. He's just injury prone, and maybe you can't play all the time. But if you put him in an offense with Joe Mixon, I think together you could put together a pretty good season of two guys that can go out and do some things. I just like to bring in another running back, and that's the guy right now that's the best running back out there. I don't think he'll be that expensive. Maybe he wants a lot more money. Maybe he wants a long-term deal, and that's why it hasn't been done yet. But if you were able to go get him on a one-year deal, I'd love to go get a guy like that.
Yeah, that was one of mine as well, is to go find a veteran running back to put behind Joe Mixon so that you have a reliable backup when he gets injured next season, because he plays so hard. He's an injury prone guy, and when he's out of there, their offense just isn't the same. So you got to go find a reliable backup who also can give him a spell every now and again, so he's not having to run the ball 20, 25, 30 times a game.
Yeah.
I don't know if J.K. Dobbins is that guy. It could even be a change of pace guy. It doesn't really matter, as long as you find a guy that can go out there and be reliable and productive for you when Joe Mixon's on the sideline. That was my third one. So,
okay, well, we'll move that up to your second. So we'll move that up, and then we'll go down to third. So we'll leave your second still out there. And my third one, this is something that I've said since they brought in D'Amico Ryans, is they need to have a veteran, a coach who's been there and done that. And I know they're all learning while they're on the job, but they just do not hire anybody with real experience. They keep hiring everybody to the biggest job they've ever done. So I would bring in someone to be an advisor, someone to be over the top. I don't know what the position title would be officially called, but someone over there. And my suggestion for it is Mike Shanahan. Is a coach who knows how to run the ball, who knows how to win games, who knows how to do a lot of different things. He has loose ties to the Texans because he was someone they talked to when they brought in Gary Kubiak. They've had his son work there as well. So I think you could at least pick up the phone and call him and say, hey, could you help us out as we're trying to figure this out and help our staff when they're really just making bonehead moves at points in times? Can we bring in a more veteran presence to maybe show off and say, hey, this on your offensive line, this is why you're having some of the problems you're having. What in practice, why are you working on those things? Tell me why, and we can walk through, and maybe we can get some better practices to get things going where they need to go. I just like that idea of somebody, and that was the name that I thought was, someone who's been there and done that.
Yeah, I like that idea. Is Mike Shanahan still coaching?
I don't believe so. I think he's like 79 years old, so I don't think he's
bringing in
involved.
like an advisor, kind of that kind of a role.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. That's a good idea. I mean, he's one of the best minds in the history of football. So
and a great teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can add him to your offensive game plan, that would be huge. Because you're right. The Texans, those coaches that they have, especially D'Amico Ryans, have all the talent in the world to coach, but they're still lacking the experience factor in the the intricacies of everything. So I think that's a really good idea.
I mean, if you look in that Mike Shanahan tree, like there's a ton of head coaches in the NFL that coached under Mike Shanahan at some point in their career. So he can claim a lot of guys. And so it's like, have that guy who's helped form what the league is today, and just have him maybe sit in some meetings. He's come to some practice.
I like that. My other one's not that bold, I guess, but it would be surprising to me just based on what they've done this offseason with their offensive line, bringing in so many pieces. And that's starting Ariante Arce at left tackle from day one. Okay. I think he's the future of your offensive line. I think that these veterans you brought in are kind of, you don't know what you're going to get with them. I would start Arce at left tackle, Titus Howard at right tackle, is it Blake Fisher? I would make him your swing tackle, or you can move Titus Howard inside. But I think you need to start the rookie and get him the base from day one.
I don't dislike that. I've seen some, lineups that do have that. They have Titus Howard moving inside and Blake Fisher staying over at right tackle. So I've seen people talking about that already. I'll tell you this, it's 100% possible because I think when they walk into this camp, it is going to be who shows out, who are the people that are really making us believe that you're able to go in there and get it done. So I think it's very easy. I like it. But I think you have to earn it. Whether or not, you don't just be able to get the pass to say, well, he's not ready to be the left tackle. He's going to get CJ Stroud killed about 8-9 times this season, but we're just going to stick him out there because we hope he's going to be good. You can't do that. But I think if he shows up at camp and earns that spot, I'll say this. I think 100% he will be given the chance to compete for that position, and he just got to go earn it. And I'm with you. Really lean into trying to get him to take that advantage and take that opportunity because he could do some really special things if he is given that opportunity, but he's got to be able to go for it. And he's got to know this is yours if you want it. I know we brought in other guys. We'll find ways to put them, or we'll release them, or we'll do whatever with them. But this is yours to lose because we want you to be the future of this team.
Yeah. And that's what I'm getting at. Obviously he has to earn it. You know, you don't just pull a Tyler Guyton and start him at left tackle from day one, even though he's not cut out for the position. But if he earns it and he comes in there and he competes and he produces in training camp and in preseason, you absolutely give him the opportunity to be your stalwart left tackle for years to come, because that's how, you know, having a guy who's elite at that position on a rookie contract for 4 years would be massive, massive for the Texans.
I'm with you there. All right. There are some bold predictions or bold tasks. If we were given the reins for a little bit, we would do with our NFL teams, the Texas NFL teams. We're going to take our second break. When we come back, we've still got the meathead of the day. I think there's been more smoke in the Bill Belichick. We may go back to that again. Who knows where we'll end up here in the last few minutes here on Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Hi, I'm Hayden Covert. Welcome to Covert Buick GMC of Bee Cave, your home in the Hill Country for new and pre-owned Buick and GMC vehicles. With beautiful inventory arriving daily, including the GMC Yukon, Sierra 1500, and Buick Enclave, you'll be certain to find the perfect vehicle at an incredible deal. Our service department is also open for all your vehicle maintenance needs. Visit us today for a test drive. Covert, born and raised in Austin. We are professional grade.
Altstadt Beer, the best beer that you can find all throughout the great state of Texas. Y'all know I've been a fan of Altstadt for years now, and if you try it, I think you will be too. If you've already tried it, you know exactly what I am talking about. Altstadt is brewed locally in Fredericksburg, but available all over the state of Texas. So if you're tuned in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, it does not matter. You can find Altstadt at a local grocery store or liquor store. They've got a bunch of different brews, something for every beer drinker out there. The lager, the Kolsch, those are their two flagship beers, both award winners. They are fantastic. The Altstadt Light sacrifices on calories but does not sacrifice on the taste. They've got a great pills, tons of great seasonals as well. I'm telling you, one sip and you won't go back to the other beers you've been drinking in the past. It is the official beer of BK. It should be the official beer of you as well. It's Altstadt Beer. No impurities, no regrets.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Today's home electronics can be a bit daunting. My company has spent the last 36 years making sure they are not. For those of you who have not experienced our services yet, we'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. We carry all the major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And we come to you. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic, inexperienced sales geeks, or pushy showroom tactics. We believe in having some fun and dreaming big. You have a dream for your home entertainment? Let us know. We can make it come true. And we are always there to help after the job is done. We cultivate clients for a lifetime by treating everyone like their family. No, not those family members. I'm talking about the ones you actually like. So relax, hug your kids, make love to your wife, and smile. Then, when you have a moment, give us a call at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678. Or online at avconsultations.com.
Back here on Open Gym, wrapping up the show on a Thursday. We did, my man Chan did point out, he said, adding a music segment on the show. I would love to talk more music on the show. Fortunately, because we're on YouTube, I can't play any music on the show. So that really hinders any music talk because I can't play the music because YouTube will then strike us and take us off and all those things that would make everyone who runs this very, very mad at me. So I will not be doing that, but I do appreciate it. Maybe we'll find another outlet for some music somewhere else online or somewhere else on the radio. Maybe that'll happen sooner or later, but as of right now, we can't do it on here. Let's do our meathead of the day because I think this will get a little bit of conversation going. Here is our meathead of the day today, Matt.
Because I'm inexperienced, and that was an inexperienced decision that I made. You think I don't talk to my assistants about substitutions every single time out?
No, I just think there's a lot of coaches lean on their assistants in those situations.
As do I, every single time. That's a weird assumption. All right.
There's JJ Redick in his pregame press conference before the game last night. He was asked basically, when you didn't substitute any of your players last game in the second half, was that something that you talked about with your staff, or was that something that was just your decision? And his response to it, instead of saying, "Oh yeah, of course we discuss everything as a staff," and just not being a jerk about it, he got very huffy and puffy. He apparently, Reggie Miller at a point said that he had to go back and he was talking to him before the game and told him to just forget about it and calm down. Like, when the announcers are having to tell you to calm down, not a great sign. But this is, JJ Redick not looking great in his last game as a head coach for the Lakers. It'll be interesting to see if the Lakers, what they do. I mean, first of all, JJ Redick and Luka Doncic are friends. They do know each other. They played together on the Mavs. So there's something to be said for him still being there, even if LeBron James, we discussed way earlier in the show about LeBron James being there. You're like, well, is JJ Redick, is this something that he wants to continue doing? Or is it did he get a sour enough taste in his mouth at the end there where he's just like, I hate this so much. I'd much rather be the one on a podcast talking about how bad the guy's decisions were than being the one who's being talked about.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to what I was saying about Redick earlier. This is just such a immature and inexperienced way to handle a perfectly fair question. Yeah. I mean, you made a weird decision to not substitute anybody in the second half. So obviously there's going to be a question about that in the press conference because it's unprecedented. And the reporter didn't ask it in a demeaning way. He didn't come after JJ Redick like Tim McMahon was coming after Nico Harrison and trying to get him to slip up. He just asked a perfectly fair, normal question, and JJ Redick took offense to it. And storms out of the press conference like a 13-year-old who just got told he can't go to the candy store. I mean, it's
wait. Do 13-year-olds still go to the candy store?
The 13-year-old can't go to the arcade. How about that?
Okay.
Do arcades even exist anymore? I don't know, Patrick. I'm old.
I don't know. We're old.
The point is, that's a totally unacceptable way to handle a press conference. It's on, to me, it's on the level of Mike Gundy going, "I'm a man. I'm 40." It's going to be one of those clips that's played over and over again because it's so ridiculous.
The Mike Gundy one, I still agree with. He was right in that
one.
Oh,
totally.
Which was don't talk about the kids. This one was like, don't talk about me. Like, you're the coach. You want them to come after you and not your players. But yeah, it was a weird decision, and it was weird for him to storm off. It's going to be a tough one where Rob Pelinka looked like the genius, because people kept saying that Nico Harrison's redeemed himself, and I don't think he has at all, because the Mavs aren't still playing. The Mavs are still playing. The Lakers are out. He redeemed himself some. The Mavs also suck, so it's not like they were much better. It just kind of ruined two teams now. But if we look at that now, Rob Pelinka went from being the toast of the town in LA, which, by the way, Lakers fans, you guys sucked at that game. That was one of the worst home environments I've ever seen in professional basketball in a playoff game. The fans didn't care. The fans would just shut up. You're like, you're not even trying to will your team back into it. You're only okay being a front runner. And I know we all know that's true, but terrible by the Lakers fans. Just horrible by the Lakers fans. Should be ashamed of themselves. Already talking. Trade him back if you don't like him. Trade him back. Have fun, hating on everyone you ever get. The luckiest franchise in the NBA history.
If we can have an honorary meathead of the day, Patrick, I would like to give it to Nico Harrison, because he not only ruined one team with a terrible trade, he's now ruined two teams with a terrible trade.
Nico's ruining the league. Now his job at the Lakers is in jeopardy. Matt, are you gonna have a good Cinco de Mayo celebration this weekend?
I am. I have a friend coming in town, and we're gonna have some nice Mexican themed margarita drinking nights. So it's gonna be great. How about you?
It's going to be fun. Yeah, I still have Friday to work. I don't get to take off tomorrow like a hotshot Matt's and go out and enjoy margaritas. I have to do 2 more hours of radio. It's tough. So we'll be here tomorrow, but I will have some fun this weekend for Cinco de Mayo. You know, any holiday that is basically hit just completely around drinking is a holiday that I enjoy. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. My boy Ty Henderson from my Horn Days will be joining me tomorrow on the show, going into more of the NBA playoffs. I know he has some rants he wants to get off his chest since he hasn't been on the air in a little bit. So we'll let Ty go off on some things. He's a Mavs fan too, so he'll be fired up. We'll get into all of that, talk some more Texas football, basketball, all the good things going on. Baseball tonight, taking on number 11 Arkansas. We'll get into the recap of that and what we think for the weekend series, all that tomorrow. Grab a great weekend, Matt. We'll be back, though, tomorrow. So be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for more from Open Gym.